your budget.
Keeper now, Gaither left side, makes a cut. Gaither 50, Gaither 40, Cavion, goodbye, touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Bronche Miles, he caught it. Over the shoulder, pump fake, Gaither. Bronche Miles Jr., touchdown. Conley.
Sikkim 365 Radio's coverage of Texas high school football is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans for over 50 years. J.D. Power, highest customer satisfaction among auto insurers in Texas, 9 years in a row.
The one, Ryan Webb in the gun. Williams and Wilson. This is Wilson left side. Can he turn the corner? He does. Touchdown, Kobe Wilson.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, here we go on a Friday afternoon where every time you turn around, there's maybe some sort of a dart, or perhaps there's some news about COVID, cancellations, suspensions. Baylor, more on them. We'll have that in just a second. I can tell you this off the start of the show. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, join me inside the press box at Mac People Stadium, Cadet Field. We got a heck of a game tonight, 9-4A Division II. Salado, China Spring, and Conley. One of those three, all three are the favorites to finish 1, 2, and 3. It just depends on the order, and it does make a difference who you play in the opening round of the playoffs. It could be, if you're not careful, it could be Carthage. Jasper's involved in that, among some others. And we'll have all that for you momentarily. And we'll hear from Salado head coach Alan Hare. So yesterday we had the news about Baylor and the flare-up, and Mac Rhodes joined us in the 5 o'clock hour, kind of trying to detail. I can tell you a couple of things that I've learned since then. That when the players and the team got back Sunday, they have that Sunday test, that not a single football player tested positive. Not one that was on the trip to West Virginia. However, there were two others, not two others, but there were two in the traveling party that tested positive, which then most likely led to the flare-up yesterday with the results back. And the ones in the travel party could have been anywhere from strength and conditioning to trainers, doctors, obviously coaches, among others on staff. And that's kind of how yesterday occurred, or how the flare-up occurred with the testing results. Now, they have tested this morning. I have been told that no results are back yet, whether they're even better or worse, or at least a glimmer of hope. So that's what I can tell you as well. But that's kind of how we got to Wednesday's testing, or Thursday's, results, with Baylor suspending all activities for football.
Well, I'm very nervous. And I can't say I'm optimistic or whatever. I'm just kind of awaiting everything, Craig, to happen as it happens. And if they already had, as many as that's been reported, then it's hard for me to think that there's not some more in the offing just that haven't come across the test yet.
Well, we need to clarify who reported. It was Sikkim 365.
Yeah.
It was Brian. It was Colt. It was Smokey. And it's 20 plus. I mean, let's just throw it out there. So 2 turned into 20 plus, and how much above 20, we have no idea. Players, some coaches, staff, as you mentioned. So, I'm not really sitting here all that concerned about Oklahoma State next Saturday, because there's a long way to go between now and then, and a lot to happen between now and then. For all we know, Oklahoma State could pop on Monday and have an issue. We have no idea. It's going to matter who's affected, obviously, because even if you have, as I wrote in an article today, enough players, as Max said yesterday, that they do have enough players to be above the Big 12 threshold. It kind of matters who those players are, because if you're, let's say Charlie Brewer, well, I'm not going to use him because some fans would probably cheer that, actually. I'm
going to tell you this, there's not a quarterback.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, for example, your best players. So if R.J. Sneed and Terrell Bernard and, whoever else you want to throw into that mix there, Connor Galvin, if those are the types of guys that you're missing, then, you're good enough to play, but you're not really all that good because you're missing your best players. So that's going to matter a great deal, but we don't have that information. But, as first reported by Sikkim 365 yesterday, there has been this outbreak, and now we know it originated with a couple of people. I'm sure they're trying to figure out how those couple of people got this, but it goes to show you just how quickly this thing can spread. And, I just feel like here recently a lot of people are really letting their guards down, and it's something that Mac Rhodes talked about. And I'm not talking specific to Baylor. I'm talking about just in general around town what I see. And I think that echoes in the fact that we've seen Waco ISD have to cancel, and various others around the area and around the state have to cancel. So, it's what we knew going into this season. There was going to be these types of things that would flare up. Just you do your best to control them and contain them to a certain extent, but, not surprising that something like this occurred. Just very unfortunate that something like this occurred, and that Baylor's obviously being affected very heavily at the moment by it.
Yeah, they are. And I was on the Big 12 radio network earlier today and talking about if you're Dave Aranda the first year, remember a question I asked him even when things were shut down. If you would have known what you were going to face when you took the job in January, would you have maybe said something differently? And I loved his answer, and it was emphatic and immediate. No. He's probably one of the people you want right now with his everything somewhat even killed. Doesn't mean he doesn't have disappointment, sadness, frustration, and even at times perhaps some anger. But the test results are not back. But that's kind of what happens. And that may not even be if somebody let their guard down. It might have been buses, hotel,
Right.
And so then you have no players, and then by Wednesday or Thursday you have 15 or 20.
Well, a guard's going down somewhere to go from 2 to 15, 20 plus. I mean, somebody's not wearing their mask that was infected, or somebody's not washing their hands that was infected. So, I mean, you're right. I'm not saying that, these two, whoever, patient zeros are like bad people. No, I'm just saying that somewhere along the way, they clearly didn't know they were infected, but they did then go on to infect a numerous amount of people that then went on to probably infect a numerous amount of people. So wash your hands, wear your mask.
Yes, exactly. The damage may have been done because they were all on the same plane,
right.
And those two come back and then find out Sunday they don't know, and they're positive, but you've been on a plane, and it's been, it's sealed up, and so that of course, then you just start, oh my goodness, you hope everything's okay. So that's where we are with Baylor. Of course, tomorrow in the Big 12 is not a full schedule. You have Texas and OU at 11.
Is this the most unanticipated Texas OU game in the entire
pretty
history
close.
Of Texas OU?
Well, not in the history,
I'm
but
being hyperbolic there.
Yeah, but you're pretty close.
Right.
I would say probably since maybe the late 90s before Stoops arrived, when John Blake and Howard Snellenberger weren't very good at Oklahoma, and UT was, even though they had their problems with the post-Makovic, Mac Brown in 97, 98, they were starting to win. And Oklahoma was struggling. So that it might be in over 20 years.
So I'm looking at this as probably the least hyped up Red River rivalry. Now, I'm going to call it what I always called and what it should be anyways, Red River Shootout. And it's just kind of bizarre. But, Paul, I would argue that it's also, as unanticipated as it might be, it is one of the most anticipated, not for the actual play on the field, but because of the ramifications for whoever loses that game tomorrow.
I think people are going to tune into it, not because it's one of the better. This isn't Roy Williams knocking into Chris Sims and all that, those kind of teams. This is
it's still Army Navy.
It is, but there are consequences on this one on.
Not the rankings, but the coaches.
But the coaches, like Lincoln Riley's fine, but like Tom Herman, if he loses this game, especially with Urban Meyer out there, kind of suggesting what he's doing wrong and, positioning himself to get in a bidding war between USC and Texas eventually.
What did you say about Lincoln Riley?
He's fine.
I know, but 0-3, I don't care if you're Bobby Bowden, Tom Osborne, or Joe Paterno, or Bo Schembechler, Darrell Royal, 0-3. You're starting, no matter the weirdness of this year.
Here's also something outside the quarterbacks that he's brought in. This is kind of the first wave of players. It's pretty much all him. I mean, there's not a whole lot of Bob Stoops guys left. I mean, there's some obviously because it's not been that long, but like there's some Bob Stoops guys. But now it's on like Lincoln. This is your team, not just. You brought in a quarterback to pepper in with some of Bob Stoops' recruits.
And you changed your coordinator. And that's kind of what Mac Brown went through, eventually cut his throat with it, and what Tom Herman's got to be careful about, right?
Yeah.
So that's at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Texas Tech, Iowa State. That game's at 2:30, Kansas State, TCU. That could be intriguing.
That could be a good one, yeah.
That's a heck of a game today. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, that game is on Fox. Last night, Houston fell down early, had a pick six, tuned through a pick six, but eventually just had too much for Tulane. They finally got a chance to play. That was a team that Baylor was supposed to play. Now, high school football. Brownwood, we told you about earlier this week, had to give up the next couple of weeks because of COVID. Their district executive committee ruled today they will have to forfeit both of their games against Heritage and La Vega. Both go down as 15-point max losses. The district executive committee ruled that since Brownwood is not closed, that the makeup date does not apply in this case. So La Vega is looking for a game, a non-district game, just to play another game, because remember, they also had a bye last week before district started 2 weeks ago. Clifton and Harmony canceled. How about this one? Cedar Hill and Allen. Perhaps the best matchup, or one of the top 2 or 3, 5 best matchups in the state.
In the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
it's canceled.
And if Allen has a problem.
They got two. I think in the piece it says that it was Allen that was at fault, you know what I mean? And there was a couple of players apparently that popped, like today or yesterday.
But out of 6,000 students.
But there's 6,000. I mean, you're talking about a potential super spreader event.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And of course, also Cedar Hill then, they're going to play Aledo instead next week, not this week, but Aledo. That's a great game. Aledo and Cedar Hill, that's tomorrow, a week from today. It looks like that one is now pretty much official. Chilton and Hubbard postponed until November 6th. 254-339-1122. Your thoughts on everything we've discussed so far, including Baylor and what's happened with them, the test results that they await. Could get better, could get worse, could be about the same. Also today at 3:30, former Texas running back Edwin Simmons. He is on because Texas OU, and he also burst onto the scene as a freshman from Hawkins with a long touchdown run and a win against Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl back in the 80s. He did run into some things, no question, in his life, but I had a chance to visit with him shortly yesterday and look forward to hearing him on just as a bright-eyed freshman. You'd have Marcus Dupree, Edwin Simmons, pretty much almost in back-to-back years they exploded. Tyron Smith done for the year. Cowboys have no Lyle Collins, no Tyron Smith. Travis Frederick retired, of course, during the offseason. 3 of the greatness of 4 are done. Maybe okay. Now Tyron Smith's not done. Neither is Lyle Collins, but they are for this year.
Yeah, and if you think about it, okay, Joe Looney was Travis Frederick's immediate replacement. He's out for another couple of weeks. No word on whether they're going to activate Cam Irving. At least last I saw, he was the guy they brought in to be the swing tackle. So really, Connor Williams is a bust so far in his career. So you've got Zach Martin, the best guard in football, possibly. I mean, you kind of wrestle out between him and Quentin Nelson, but. It's him and then rookie free agents in Brandon Knight and Terrence Steele on either side of him, a bust, and then a rookie and Tyler Biotish, who I think has played well, but he's still a rookie, and he's going to run up against guys that are bad dudes.
Brandon Knight, Connor Williams, Tyler Biotish, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele could be your starting offensive line if they put Martin to tackle, which Jerry Jones today suggested on their flagship. Connor McGovern might move into the starting lineup until Joe Looney is healthy.
But, okay, let me ask you this about Connor McGovern. If Connor McGovern is so good, then why hasn't he displaced Connor Williams, who's not played well at all?
That's from David Hellman.
Yeah. Stephen Jones came out and said that they feel like Tyron Smith, who has a neck injury, mind you, and who has been on the injury report more than it feels like he's been healthy in the last couple of years. He said, Stephen Jones, that they feel Tyron Smith should be good to go for next season after having surgery next week. And that would be all great and everything, but it's very clear he's on the other side of his career.
And he's 29.
The end's coming soon.
Cowboys, by the way, in 2020, Tyron Smith, $10 million. Lyle Collins, $9.95 million. Travis Frederick counts for nearly almost $5 million. And we know that Smith has played twice, Collins none, and Frederick retired.
And then imagine if they lose to the Giants this weekend. I'm not thinking they will.
This weekend, it is complete meltdown.
I'm not thinking that they will, but I'm just saying, like, you talk about another whammy coming their way potentially.
Yeah. Astros, when they beat the A's yesterday, and they beat them up badly, 4th consecutive year in the American League Championship Series. Tom Seaver, gone. Bob Gibson, gone. And Whitey Ford, one of the great names in New York Yankees history at the age of 91, gone.
He was Mickey Mantle's running buddy. There's some wild stories about Whitey Ford and Mickey Mantle, and a really fun big personality. Whitey Ford was one of the best pitchers of all time. 91 years old. I'm kind of surprised, given that as hard as Whitey lived, he made it to 91.
No kidding.
Hey, that might be why he lives. You hear about having a glass of wine every day or something like that?
I mean, he was Mickey Mantle's, that was his pal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Mickey obviously lived a lot harder.
Mickey's been gone for about 25, 30 years, hasn't he?
About like 20, I think.
Longer, yeah.
It's been a long time. All right, the Willis Law Firm chat room, that's available on Sikkim365.com. That's in the premium section. Also, you can hit us up on the text line, 254-339-1122. Also online for any calls, 254-339-1122. Edwin Simmons at 3:30. Grayson Grunhafer today will join us at 3:45. Then Max Olson. Yeah.
No calls. We're not technologically sound in this booth for that.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So text line's still open.
Text line's still open. And you can also hit us up on Twitter, at Craig Smoke, at Paul Catalina, at David Smoke as well. The guest lineup, I mentioned Edwin Simmons on what it was like to burst on the national scene as a freshman in the Texas OU game. Grayson Grunhafer, Max Olson, Lee Sterling on Vegas and what they think of the weekend. And then Temple Scott Stewart, Rikers Tyler Holcomb, and then Haig Sherman, Baylor alum, class of 1988. He and his family are the ones who donated money so that two great Baylor University and great Americans will be honored somewhere around McLean Stadium with statues, Kane and Loomis. And we'll have that today at 5 o'clock. And then Salato's Alan Hare, and he'll join us at 5:25. We also have in the can, which means kind of on hold. We've had this since Wednesday. During the media session that Dave Aranda had on Wednesday, the last couple of 3 or 4 questions were from a guy from the New York Post writing a story about Trevor Lawrence and Dave Aranda and how he answered them. And I was like, well, no one really cares. No, it's about how he responds to how they handled Trevor Lawrence last year in the college football playoff, and it's Dave Aranda at his best, breaking down football lingo and coverages and all of that allowed them to have the game that they had that led to the national championship win for Ed Orgeron and LSU with Dave Aranda on that staff. So all that's coming up. 254-339-1122. Stephen in Virginia, the Red River rivalry is huge. To me, the loser is in deep trouble. The loser's done, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying is, from a rankings and a playoff perspective, it's not all that interesting because while Texas is not eliminated, Oklahoma's out. Unless everybody else in the country picks up a couple losses, which is not likely at all. Texas they're hanging by a thread basically already with 1 loss. But 2, they're done. OU's done, and we're not even halfway through the season. So it's a fascinating game, not from a ranking standpoint, but from a ramification standpoint for sure.
I agree. And it is a great rivalry. And there will still, I don't know how many people are going to be there. None?
I don't even recall reading about that.
I can't remember whether they're having anybody there or not. Look that up because that was always, to me, what made the rivalry was the recruiting part of it. Especially under the days of Darrell Royal and then Barry Switzer and eventually Fred Akers and all the others involved in this. But to me, as someone who covered it as long as I did, it was the atmosphere. Yes, outside the stadium, the State Fair, it was split right down the middle, 50-50, Texas burnt orange and Oklahoma's crimson.
Apparently they're going to allow less than 25,000 people there. I mean, that's still
about
good
1/4 of the stadium.
Combo's pretty, large and spread out, so I could see how that worked. But, I mean, it's not the same. The fair's not going on, so you don't have that at all as a backdrop, and that's typically just what gives you that buzz and that buzz and that feel and just the trash talking as people are walking around getting corn dogs and whatnot. That'll be missing entirely, and so will a big chunk of fans.
Stephen, if Oklahoma loses 3 in a row, and if Texas loses, how could they still lose to Oklahoma when they are down one way or the other? If Texas loses to this Oklahoma, and they don't take advantage of Oklahoma being down, which they are, for whatever reasons, COVID or whatever, they don't have the fifth year.
They don't have playmakers.
The star quarterback transfers of Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts. If they don't win tomorrow, I would think the heat on Tom Herman, even though I think he's safe, will be enormous.
Well, it'll be,
if not already.
I think coaches, for the most part, like Ralph Russo said yesterday, and kind of reiterated what he's saying, you would have to be in a really bad way. outside of any kind of scandal. I mean, if you get in a scandal, you're going to get fired. That's how that happens. But your team would have to be really, really bad and irreversible for a school that's cutting jobs and things all over the place to want to pay your buyout.
If they don't, but this is an Oklahoma team that I've watched, and I almost don't even know who they are.
Well, here's the thing. Like, they still could have very well at beating Iowa State at multiple points last week. Like, that's the thing. They're not bad. They're just not what we've been seeing the last 3-4 years with Heisman winners and contenders. They've got a young quarterback who's getting his, kinks out and learning the hard way. And he doesn't have reliable playmakers around him. They don't have a great back. They don't have great receivers.
Yeah,
they don't have Mark Andrews at tight end.
If Oklahoma has this freshman quarterback and you have Sam Ehlinger, who's his fourth year, he's a senior. Now he could come back if he wanted to. Man, that would be hard to swallow.
Well, and I think this about Oklahoma. Just seeing what they've done the last couple of weeks, K-State and Iowa State, they don't know how to close. No. Like the team last year, those suckers knew how to close. I mean, they could close. And that's what they've been able to do until they run up against somebody that's, equal or better talented. Then it really doesn't matter about closing. It's just a matter about getting the breaks. But they knew how to close. This team doesn't.
Yeah, well, so that's going to be really interesting. I wanted to add on the State Fair, though, there's going to be about 25 vendors there, apparently. I don't know what that crowd's going to look like or how lined up that will be.
How many people will be in line when that's all there is available?
I don't know.
It was already packed, and you had to wait for minutes upon minutes for a corn dog or a sausage on the stick or a cold beer.
I really hate the currency system at the fair where I just look, I want a corn dog. It costs $3.50. I'm going to give you $3.50. I don't want to give you 8 tickets.
All right, when we come back, that's part of the deal. When we come back, we'll hear from Edwin Simmons. He played at Hawkins High School. I covered him back when he and Stanley Richard, they were really good back in the day. But then he went to Texas, exploded onto the scene, and then his career kind of fizzled out. We'll speak with him. We'll have Grayson today at 3:45 on what all this means, in his opinion, to Baylor. Max Olson, he'll join us. Lee Sterling. Also, both Temple and Riker highlighted today with high school football. And then Haig Sherman on the two great veterans who were massive when it comes to serving our country. Kanan Loomis, he'll join us today at 5, and then also today coming up at 5:30. Here on Sikkim 365 Radio, we will have Alan Hare, Slato's head football coach, and something I recorded a little bit earlier. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are continuing on with a kickoff savings event, and they have great deals going on right now on a variety of different vehicles. But before we get into some of the deals, I need to tell you about Richard Carr. They, of course, are the people you can count on. And ever since back in the spring when COVID-19 first hit, we went into the lockdown, and when we emerged, Richard Carr Motors was one of those places that had adjusted accordingly. They will provide you with the ability to have the test drive brought to your home if you're not comfortable going over to the dealership. But the dealership is open, and if you go inside the dealership, you can feel very safe because they are constantly sanitizing. Dealers are washing their hands, staying spacious, all that good stuff. But just in case, they do give you that option if you're not feeling all that comfortable about going to check out the vehicles in person. So if you do go check them out in person, or if you're interested in a test drive maybe being brought to your home, well, just know this. All 2020 vehicles on the lot are priced to move right now. You can get it all, a smooth, quiet ride and a first-class interior matched with power and durability in the GMC Sierra, the best truck on the road. During Richard Carr's kickoff savings event, qualified buyers will score $9,000 off a 2020 GMC Sierra at Richard Carr. They also have $10,000 off the versatile and nimble Buick Encore. Only $19,900 for all 2020 three-row Buick Enclaves. Enclaves $10,000 off, and only $19,900 for Buick Encores. And maybe you're ready to step up to ultimate luxury and style with the Cadillac brand. Well, let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with an XT4, XT5, or the full-size 7-passenger Cadillac XT6, and save $2,000. 2020 Cadillac XT4s start at only $34,690 at Richard Carr Cadillac, or you can find one of the best sedan values on the market with the exhilarating 2020 Cadillac CT4 sedan starting at $32,995. It's a kickoff savings event at Richard Carr. Score huge savings right now on all vehicles in stock. Go see richardcarr.com or go in person. See the deals at Highway 6 and the Imperial Exit.
With so many Policies out there. It gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Graham Property Company will give you the best opportunities and services to navigate and achieve your real estate goals. At Graham Property Company, we strive to establish lasting relationships built on service and performance. Whether you are buying, leasing, selling, or investing, our real estate portfolio and expertise can facilitate your needs, no matter what real estate or property need you may encounter. Graham Property Company, property sales, acquisitions, leasing, and management at GrahamInvestmentCo.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Texas OU tomorrow, 11 o'clock at the Cotton Bowl. Texas OU has, many players from either program have been put up on pedestals because of games they've played, wins they've had, like Peter Gardere, the Texas quarterback, was 4-0 against Oklahoma, which is rather amazing. We know Marcus Dupree, what he did, and also Edwin Simmons, all-state blue chipper from Hawkins, Texas, had 2 touchdowns in a game against Texas at the Cotton Bowl his freshman year. He joins us now on the eve of Texas OU on Sikkim 365 Radio. I have not spoken with you, and it's been way, way too long. First of all, how have you been? What are you doing these days?
I'm doing well. I appreciate it, man. I'm living in Tyler, and I'm working for a construction company, road construction company, in the transportation division as their general manager. So doing well.
Good for you. You exploded on the scene at Texas. There's no question. Your freshman year, boom. Obviously against Oklahoma, you had a monster game. Returned to kickoff against North Texas State at the time. What was that like, that first time when you stepped inside the Cotton Bowl and you saw that half and half of crimson and burnt orange?
Just exciting, because you hear so much about it. And when I was little, my dad used to be a bus driver, and would always, every year in Hawkins, would take the band up to the fair, and I would just go up with him and would stand outside of the stadium just to hear the roar. And so when I got an opportunity to experience that, it was very exciting.
How long is your heart in your throat when that first one, when you have to perform against Oklahoma? When, back then especially, there were two games that people cared about. It was Oklahoma and A&M. And
yeah.
if you weren't ready for either one of those, they're going to be pretty ticked.
Absolutely. Not bad. I mean, we received, if I remember this correctly, we received the kickoff that game, and I was the first one to touch the ball. So pretty exciting. You're nervous. You don't want to do anything to mess up, but as soon as you get hit, all those jitters kind of go away as soon as the game starts. So, but that's one of the things I can remember. Probably one of the other things is that at the time there was a guy by the name of Johnny Walker, who was the starting tailback, and Johnny had a tendency to fumble a lot, and so I made my decision to stand right behind Coach Akers at the time, and Johnny fumbled. I guess it was maybe in the late first or early second quarter, and he turned around and sends me in, and I said, "Okay, this is my chance." My parents are there in the stands up by the band, and everybody's going crazy, and they call my number. First play as I'm going in, and I take the handoff, and immediately I fumble. And so I'm running back over to the sideline trying to make sure that I run away from Coach Akers, and he finds me and tells me, pulls me over and just tells me, "You're going back in." And I think that was just a confidence builder, that he had enough confidence in me to number one, to hold on to the ball, but number two, to make the plays I needed to make.
Well, Smokey asked you what it was like to walk in the stadium and see that split in the crowd, and obviously that's going to be something missing from tomorrow. But what was it like to get a win and to have those bragging rights? And then obviously, anytime Oklahoma beats Texas or Texas beats Oklahoma, it's a big deal. Both teams that first time that you played were highly, highly ranked. So what was it like to get a W and walk out of the Cotton Bowl with one of those?
Man, in a word, satisfying. I mean, because you knew that's such a big game, and everybody looked forward to that game, and even in the early '80s, it had national attention, and so it just gave you that satisfaction, that kind of that bragging rights over the course of, because at the time it was the Southwest Conference was playing against the Big Eight, so it was exciting and satisfying to be able to get that win.
You had 105 yards and 2 scores, 33 yards out, and I think another run that was about 6 or 8 yards. You had a 67-yarder. That wasn't a touchdown, was it? Was that one that led to a touchdown? I can't remember, or was that a touchdown?
That was a touchdown, man.
Okay.
You almost sound like that means somebody ran me down.
No, I was going to say, because I looked at the scoring summary and it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
That's why I asked, because that doesn't make any sense. Edwin, you were freakishly big for a running back, 6'4". You obviously had that connection where Earl Campbell or Billy Sims or David Overstreet came from that area. Did that ever put any burden on you to be one of those guys from East Texas that had been so many great backs that had gone to Texas or Oklahoma before?
I think so. I don't know if it put any pressure on me, but it put me in a situation where I wanted to kind of live up to some of the things that those guys from the East Texas area had accomplished, and Earl was a great inspiration for me, being that I lived in Tyler lived in Hawkins when I was younger, and he was over in Tyler and was so successful at the University of Texas. But so it was you wanted to be known as one of those guys that played well, that participated, but was also just from the East Texas area.
Was your size eventually something that came back to hurt you because that position takes so many hits, and you were 6'4", and so you had a pretty big target for people to take a shot at your legs?
I think so. But the crazy thing is, most ironic thing about it is that the guy that I got hurt by was a guy out of Arkansas that was about 6'7", and he tackled me up high, and that injury if you have that injury, it's just a sprained knee, and you're out 3-4 weeks and you're back playing. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I think today, if I was playing, it would be a tight end position, which is a hybrid wide receiver type position. But that's what I think my body type and my speed at that time, and I think that's what I would be now.
What is it like? Because you had something that none of us in this booth, Craig or Paul or me or most people listening, was just naturally born speed. At 6'4", you could also run like an antelope, and one of the best high school running backs I've ever seen. What was it like, though, for someone like you that had that kind of natural speed, and you worked on it, to then all of a sudden lose that?
Physically, very tough, but I think more than anything, it was tough mentally, because you get to a point to where you have the ability, or you had the ability, and you just need to get well. You need to get your knees right, and if I can just get over this hump, then I'm going to be fine. But you just get to a point to where you realize, maybe it's not meant to be. So the mental aspect of getting over it was probably more difficult than the physical, because I think after you have your surgeries and things like that, your knees are better surgically, but I think the mental hurdle takes a toll once you realize that maybe you're not going to be the same type of player, regardless of the position, that you used to be.
You mentioned what you would be now if you were playing. Would you have liked to got a shot in an offense like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, linebacker's a little bit faster now, but go back in the 80s, you got a linebacker that probably some of the fastest linebackers may have ran a 4.6, 4.7 because of they were built to stop the run. But now you got this run and shoot offense. You got tight ends that come out that spread out like wide receivers, and either you put a safety or you got to walk up a linebacker out there on you. Man, that's a dream for a running back or tight end that's got speed.
How much do you still love the game of football, and how much do you keep up with your horns and just the landscape as a whole? I
keep up. Watch football. It's a little strange to watch it now with no fans in the stands.
Right.
But I keep up with it, and I keep up with the horns. And for the last couple of years, we went to the Texas OU game, and just for the atmosphere, and that's my first time going to one, and not actually playing, sitting in the stands and experiencing from that, and it was exciting. I still root for them and want them to do well, and hope the best for them.
They have continued this parade of blue chip running backs to Texas, but the Tom Herman offense, even though on occasion you'll see Keontae Ingram, or when he gets himself back, I think he had that bad spill early on, Bijan Robinson and
Bijan Robinson,
among others. And Rashawn Johnson was a quarterback who's playing running back. You see seemed to be someone that wanted, when you had the ability, you'd want 20, 25 carries a game. That doesn't seem to be what they have now. How frustrating would that be?
It would be. I think you just got different. Today's running back is just totally different. They aren't used to carrying the football 20, 25 times. And back in our day, that's what you did. I mean, and the Eric Dickersons and those type guys, the Earl Campbells, and you just. And the more you gave those guys the football, the stronger you would get. So you just kind of lean on people for 3 or 4 quarters, and you test their will in the fourth quarter because they realize, man, I got to deal with this guy again because I know he's coming, and it's going to be. He just seems like he's getting stronger, and so that's the type of game that I'm used to, or that I was used to, and so it would be pretty frustrating. You sit back. We ran the traditional I.
Right.
You're as a running back, you're sitting back there. You got your fullback in front of you, and you're 7-8 yards back, and you're taking a handoff, and you're looking for your cuts. And now they don't do that. The quarterback is as deep as the running back now. So a little different.
Everyone has their ups and downs in life. What did you learn about yourself when things did not go well for you? And how much better of a person are you because of the bumps in the road?
Man, I'm gonna tell you something, David. The biggest thing, because I think everything that happens to you is preparing you for something greater. And as a athlete, as a football player, things happen to me. People still ask me about the incident in Austin and all that stuff. But the biggest thing that has prepared me for is being a father. And the crazy thing is I'm a father of 3 daughters. So, So I know that everything that I went through is preparing me to instill all of those experiences, good and bad, to my kids to make them successful. So, I don't would I change? A lot of people say I wouldn't change anything, but I would. Yeah, I would change some of my choices, some of my actions. But I think that experience has given me the opportunity to help my kids whenever they go through trials, or any kid when they ever go through ups and downs in their lives, or struggles in their life, and don't have an idea how to handle it. And I think my experience has given me that opportunity to be able to do that.
Nearly 3,000 yards his senior year at Hawkins, 38 touchdowns. He was a ultimate of the blue chips, no question. Had the great start with Texas, and then injuries eventually were debilitating. Edwin, every time I've ever seen you, you've had a huge smile on your face. I can almost see you now carrying the football. National Signing Day. I appreciate you jumping on with us and reflecting back on Texas and OU, and God bless for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all for inviting me on, and it was a pleasure talking to y'all too.
Thank you. That's Edwin Simmons, former Texas running back, and a monster year at Hawkins. He was one of the most highly recruited players his senior year, and Hawkins also developed Stanley Richard, who played at Texas, a great defensive back that played in the NFL for quite some time. When we come back, the Cleary Act, remember that?
Yes.
Baylor has had a decision, the Cleary Act, they're going to get fined for saying some things that they had, but Jason Cook of Baylor Information will join us in the next segment to answer questions that Craig, Paul, you, me, and others might have. What does all this mean? This is Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want and need to be. How? Contact them. Go online, PettyClinicLowT.com. Tell them Smokey sent you. Get there, call them, contact them however you can. Tell him I sent you, and he will then help you get blood work at a discounted rate. What does that do? He gets your blood work, gets the results, finds out what your testosterone level might be, or not might be, what your testosterone level is. And if your testosterone level, depending on your age, is a little bit lower or a lot lower than it needs to be, maybe that's why you've had problems sleeping. Maybe that's why you've had sluggishness or lethargic type feeling, or your sex drive is not the same, or ED. Maybe and he can help you get in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can be the high-performance man that you want to be. Feel better across the board. And also they do the PSA testing as well for prostate cancer, and that's a monstrous deal for the men who are listening to this show. It's Petty Clinic, lowt.com.
Bird Culture Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the number one selling truck in Texas, 40.
Central Texas traditions run deep, all the way to the vehicles we drive. That's why folks trust Alan Samuels. During Alan Samuels Jeep Adventure Days, get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Gladiator Sport and no payments for 90 days. Plus, the tougher-than-nails 2020 Jeep Renegade, 0 for 72, no payments for 90 days, or up to $6,250 in cash and subprime offers. Trusted. That's Alan Samuels, your friend in the car business.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Mazana Construction is celebrating 52 years as an award-winning, family-owned and operated business excelling in general construction and construction management. Mazana Construction is proud to support Connolly ISD's tradition of excellence in education and athletics, including owners calling Connolly High their alma mater, Vicky Mazonic, class of 1974, and Aaron Miner from the class of 2002. Mazana Construction, celebrating 50-plus years by building trust with quality work. MazanaConstruction.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
We will have Grayson Grundhafer. He's at 4:15 today after Max Olson because Jason Cook, Vice President for Marketing and Communications, Chief Marketing Officer for Baylor University, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Jason, thank you very much. I know you have a meeting at 4 o'clock. What does this decision, the fine, the Cleary Act, what does this all mean for Baylor?
Thanks for the opportunity, Smokey. I think what this is, from a big picture standpoint, is Baylor's been in a resolution phase for the past 3 or 4 years as we look at trying to move forward from the events of 2015, 2016. And this is another domino that we've been able to knock down as part of that process. So it is significant in terms of, one, we get some closure. But the second thing is it's a validation from the Department of Education's Cleary office that we've essentially addressed the deficiencies of the past, and we're able to move forward clean and free.
Jason, I'm sure relief is a big word when you talk about that, but what does it say for all the work that was done to do this in a problem nationally that at the time when you kind of came in and this was revealed, it didn't really have a clear solution?
You're right, and if you think back, it's been 3 years just since we started this review on April 28th of 2017, and I know you guys are very interested in the NCAA process and some other components related to this, but it just takes some time to go through these things. And the Cleary Act, really what it's aiming to do is to give you some transparency of crime-related statistics on college campuses around the country, but it is very highly detailed. It's very nuanced. It's not just what happens within the confines of our individual campus. And so we had to do some work, and we brought in some outside experts to walk through this process with us. But we feel really good about getting some resolution, even though we did have to pay a fine. We really believe that this will allow us to move forward.
Jason, there was one line that stood out to me in this report by Channel 6 in covering this story. It said, in contrast to other institutions that have also been found in violation of the Cleary Act enforcement actions, Baylor will not be required to undergo ongoing Cleary compliance reviews. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, usually when you go through a big process like this, particularly a multi-year process, they will come in and have regular reviews to evaluate if you're doing what you said you were going to do, or the process you put in place, the controls you put in place, are they achieving the outcome that you said that you were going to do? And in this case, the Department of Education had a lot of confidence in the changes that we had made, not only to address the past, but to look into the future. And we've got a couple of really good staff members who we've brought in to help manage this process. And, like a lot of things related to, the changes we made from 2015, 2016, people are now looking at Baylor to see how we've responded to, but also how we're handling these types of issues moving forward. And that's, related to Cleary, it's related to Title IX, it's related to NCAA under Mac's leadership. So it's a validation of the steps that we've done.
Jason, when you look at the headline, it depends on whose headline you look at, and that's why I wanted you on, because it allows us to clarify. You look at the $500,000 or whatever it is. In the end, without saying that this wasn't important and there are things that obviously you had to get better at, in the end, is it a good news that this is another hurdle that's out of the way?
Anytime you have to pay a fine, that's not necessarily good news, David. But when you put it in context of where Baylor was, and you compare to some of the other schools, Michigan State paid a $4.5 million fine. Penn State paid a $2.4 million fine. UC Berkeley just last month paid a $2.35 million fine. So, this is significant money, and it's a testament that the Department of Education means business. The Cleary Act is very important to college campuses. So if you put that into perspective, while we're not happy about having to pay a fine, it could have been much, much worse. And I think the Department of Education really looked at it and saw how seriously we took the issues that we had on our campus in the past.
Moving forward now, I know you're confident in this, but the way that things will be handled as opposed to the way they used to be handled, how different are they now?
Well, we've added an additional staff member in the Cleary office. So we have 2 staff members, and they're responsible for our annual reports, daily crime logs, things of that nature. We've increased our Cleary-related training and mentoring. We have hundreds of Cleary safety officials on campus that help us in reporting Cleary-related issues. So it's not just an individual effort here. It's a campus-wide effort. It's part of the culture that President Livingstone has established here on our campus. That hey, we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to do what we said we would do at the end of the day. So it's significant, and that's not to say that we may not stub our toe again in the past, but I don't think that you're going to see anything that was institution-wide as what happened in the past.
And this is not just what happened, right, Jason, with the football scandal. This is the part, university top to bottom, that they had to be kind of looked at and look at what kind of within?
Really good question. I think what happened in football really caused the Cleary office to come in and say, you know what, there may be some other things we need to look at. But the Cleary is a university-wide issue. And, that Cleary jurisdiction extends several blocks away from the campus here in Waco. It includes a nursing school in Dallas. And even when our football team travels on the road, for example, that hotel becomes a Cleary jurisdiction for the institution as well. So I mentioned it's very nuanced, it's very specific, but at the end of the day, the intent of the Cleary Act is really good because the intent is to promote transparency and to keep students safe.
Jason, thank you very much for jumping on with us short notice. Appreciate your time. Good luck with the next meeting you're in.
You bet. Have a good weekend.
That's Jason Cook. He came over from Texas A&M. Jason is the Vice President for Marketing and Communications, Chief Marketing Officer at Baylor. And I also, in my opinion, had Jason Cook been a part of the staff in 13, 14, or even 14, 15, 16, a lot of the battering ram of Baylor, it would have still been tough. But Jason, I think, could have cleared a lot of things up and would not have jumped underneath covers, but would have been out front. He's a bulldog.
Well, he
was hired to be that.
He sees things as they are very well, and as you heard him there, he has a very good way of explaining things. And so the part of the problem with a PR storm is the true story. I was telling somebody the other day about the way the media covers things. The true story is often good enough of everything that happens. Take any issue. Like, look, if you want dirt on a politician, you don't need to add sauce to it. If they're corrupt, the real story is really interesting, and you're going to find that. You don't have to add anything to it. So the real thing that was going on at Baylor was really bad. It didn't need any other sauce on it, and here you needed somebody like Jason Cook that could, ward all that stuff off.
I tell you what, I wonder how many people who were all over the trail 3 years ago will report on this news. I would bet you a third, if
they
not
will
less.
Put the headline up or click it and make a sarcastic. Listen,
they're fine mega dollars for scandal.
But you look at compared to Michigan State.
Yeah, it's
to
not
Penn
even
State,
close.
To Cal Berkeley, it's still a fine. There were major issues. They took care of them, and they're moving forward. That's the checklist.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you just forget about it all because it wasn't good.
And I'm not saying that in like a braggadocious way by any means. It's just that, that's what we're talking about with the way the media tries to sensationalize things. But, yeah, I mean, that's a big, hefty fine for anybody, and it's not yet as big as others. And so that goes to show you that as bad as it was portrayed, that it was not to the extent of what some other universities who you might not even known about what was going on their campuses as well.
On the board, there's 2 or 3 headlines immediately. Baylor fined $500, but listen to what he had to say.
Yeah.
That's why we had him on. Good point,
Almost
Craig.
every single one of the people who wanted to burn the whole thing down, that wrote things that, Baylor should shut its doors or this and that and all of that. Every chance that they've gotten to ask anybody questions or to appear at anything, whether it's Art Browell's first press conference at Mount Vernon or this or anything else, when it comes down to this wasn't what you thought it was, and a lot of the things you heard were a little bit sensationalized, and it's kind of run-of-the-mill, and I'm not trying to, downplay anything, but, once all that other stuff went away or you got a direct answer on things, they were all gone.
They were sending opinions and questions on from basically aircraft carriers,
especially
rather
at
than
Austin.
being
especially
when
at
we
Austin.
come back. Max Olson, theathletic.com, Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com, Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com, and we focus on Temple and Riker. And Riker's got a battle upstream tonight with head coach Tyler Holcomb having to deal with some issues with them. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI, idealmri.com. They're located in the Central Texas Marketplace. I've been in their building. I have been inside their MRI machine, state-of-the-art technology. And when they joined as our title sponsor of this show, well before we ever did our first show, I remember Dr. Rob Maxey contacted me and said, we want to be a part of this because I think this could be special. Well, they're special. Every scan performed on a state-of-the-art machine read by board-certified experts. They do it with a level of convenience, comfort uncommon in healthcare. They do it with fixed, transparent, and affordable pricing. Isn't that the way healthcare should be? Think about why Ideal MRI. One, the average MRI cost, the average can be around $1,100, which means there are many that are way above that. And they can help you save not just hundreds, but in some cases, thousands of dollars if you need an MRI. And if, oh, by the way, you need an MRI, it's because there's a muscle or a bone or a ligament or something that's just worse than just sore aches and pains. And they can help you with that. They put you first. Call them, contact them, get an appointment set up. It's very easy. They'll help you with your insurance and do whatever they can to help you with that. And then when you show up, the process of checking in is simple. The Texan specialist will go over everything with you so you know there's no unknown. If you have questions, they're going to answer them. And then their MRI machine, which is state-of-the-art, it is an alpha dog. I've been in it, and there have been some MRI machines because you're in that tube where you can get a little bit claustrophobic. I never had 1 second where I didn't feel comfortable. And that says a lot. And then Dr. Rob Maxey called me a little bit later on that evening and told me about my results. I shared them with Dr. Haynes at Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. And now I knew what I had, what was ailing me and why. They are absolutely phenomenal. They care about you. They will help you and save thousands in some cases of dollars at idealmri.com.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom-ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Ingram, and this time he's hit and knocked backwards. And TCU says they fumbled. TCU says they have the ball.
I think he lost the ball when he tried to go up and over. Ellinger is walking off the field.
And the Horned Frogs recover it. Wow!
Holy cow, what a play.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
407 on Sikkim 365 Radio, and we had Edwin Simmons, one of the names of that 83 game between Texas and Oklahoma, and also about life. I really appreciated the way Edwin took that question and discussed his life and what he's learned from it for his kids as well. We're now joined by Max Olson, theathletic.com. He wrote a story about Texas and Ellinger and Texas OU. But we have to start with, hey, how's your week? Because we're having fun in Waco.
I had a lot of writing to do yesterday. Got a little detoured by the old Jayhawks and by the Baylor Bears, but that's life. You gotta be ready for anything here this season.
It's kind of like halftime adjustments, right? When you've given up a couple hundred yards rushing and you got to make some That's what we did yesterday, and that's of course what we did before Houston.
Yeah, sudden change, man.
Yeah.
Sudden change. The coaches talk about it all the time here.
We have discussed Texas and OU, and Oklahoma obviously is trying to find out who they are. Both teams' defenses seem to be completely a wreck. What would it do to the legacy if Sam Ellinger doesn't come away? We don't know what he's going to do next year. With a win when Oklahoma has a redshirt freshman on the other side?
Yeah, this is, we've talked before about Texas circling 2020 as their big year. This is supposed to be it. This is supposed to be their best team yet under Tom Herman. They couldn't have guessed that Oklahoma would also be as down as they are right now. So is there a better opportunity for Texas than right now to go beat Oklahoma and dethrone them and put some new teams in this Big 12 title game this year, right? I mean, this is their shot. And, I think personally, I think Sam Ellinger's probably moving on after this year. I don't know that another year of college is the most attractive move on his part. And, there's obviously a draft discussion as part of that too, but this is, sure. This is a legacy game for Sam Ellinger. I think in the last few years, I think you could certainly say he has played some of his best football in the Cotton Bowl. So I would expect nothing but him being totally locked in and making a ton of plays on Saturday.
If Tom Herman, though, I mean, this game notwithstanding, nobody's really getting fired this year, Max, you would think. But Urban Meyer already kind of floated. Like, I've got this theory that Urban Meyer is trying to create a bidding war between USC and Texas for his services whenever that time comes. And with that going on, if he has another bad year, what will the heat be like on him next year?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about, it depends on how bad we're talking. Certainly if it's a losing season, then kind of all bets are off, and you're talking about some serious change. But the price tag on coaching transition here is in moving on from this staff after this year, we're talking literally like $25 million. So there's just not, in a year where everyone is dealing with pretty serious budget cuts and layoffs and everything, that's just kind of unconscionable to go in that direction. So Texas has to, so even if Texas is not in a position maybe where it can move on, you certainly, the fear there is that, if they don't take care of business this week and going forward, that you're just going to lose confidence from in your stakeholders and your fan base and boosters and all of that. If with how this has played out for you so far with the team that you've had coming back and everything, if you can't get it done this year, then that's going to cause a lot of people to question, whether they have the right guy in charge.
So, Max, we've been talking about this game, and, it's not the most hyped up, obviously, but the ramifications we've already been kind of discussing here. But Oklahoma, if they lose this game, will be 0-3 in the Big 12 and 1-3 overall. If Texas loses this game, they would drop to 1-2 in the Big 12 and would be 500. Who do you like in this game? Because, Oklahoma's clearly got a defense that is suspect as ever. Texas has their warts as well. I mean, who do you actually like tomorrow in the Cotton Bowl?
I've been thinking about it all week, and I really don't have a great answer for you right now. I think everything I've heard on the Texas side of things is that the response this week has been awesome, and that they're, that there's a belief that they can go out and play their best football on Saturday. That remains to be seen, obviously, and sometimes I think certainly they've been a program that just over the years has kind of overpromised and underdelivered. So it's just hard to totally trust until you see them actually pull this off here. It's hard to believe that Oklahoma's in this spot. They haven't been in this. We've talked about it for a long time. And I just have a hard time believing that this team is this bad that they could lose 3 in a row to start conference play. It's interesting. I think there are two teams that are actually in pretty similar positions here. I think they're kind of focused inward this week on trying to fix their own issues. And so we'll see, how much that shows up on Saturday. And I honestly think they're pretty evenly matched teams at the moment. And I don't know that either of them should be ranked.
Now, as far as what you've seen so far in the Big 12, TCU had that win on the fumble. We know that it looks like Kansas State has bounced back. Obviously, Oklahoma State, who Baylor we think might play next week, they're off to a nice start. Your thought? Iowa State had the win against TCU on the road and then beats Oklahoma, so that's a couple of notches in their belt. Do you have a clue right now who the two best teams are?
It's a great question. I wrote about this today, but you look at the first 10 Big 12 conference games, and you take out the 2 Kansas games, 8 out of 8 have been 1-score margin games in the final 3 minutes. And so I think we're going to see a ton of that this year. I think that's just kind of where this conference is at and where this season's at. And so that makes me look at this conference right now and think, there's probably room for a 2-loss team or maybe even a 3-loss team to get into the Big 12 title game at the end of this. I just think it's going to be one of those years where these teams are going to beat each other up so much. I think if you're Oklahoma State fan right now, you're pretty fired up about how this is all playing out. And certainly they've got to 3-0 with only 1 drive from Spencer Sanders so far. So getting him back, I think, kind of raises their ceiling, and they're already off to a great start. I think we've already seen, Iowa State and Kansas State are so much better than what we saw in their openers, and I think TCU can play with anybody in this conference. So, if I just we'll see where kind of Baylor and Texas Tech and West Virginia sort of end up in terms of being that kind of competitive team from week to week. I think they will be, but I like Oklahoma State right now, and I guess if you had to pick like who else would be in the Big 12 title game, I guess I would kind of still default to Oklahoma, but you could talk me into Iowa State or a bunch of other teams at the moment for sure.
Max, in regard to, Baylor's got their COVID issues as well, and that's a huge story that they're dealing with. But with regards to Les Miles and going out in public and saying, I think I've got a little cold,
yeah,
should people in Lawrence be a little worried about Les right now? I mean, that's of all the times, be like, I think I've got a little cold. I mean, come on, Les.
Yeah, I don't know how. I first of all, I don't know why Kansas is still doing a midweek coaches show in public. That doesn't really make a ton of sense in terms of trying to preserve the bubble within your football program and keep everybody safe. And, now because of this, you're not just dealing with a contact tracing issue within the Kansas football program, but I mean, this is probably a matter for the city of Lawrence too, to figure out, okay, is there anybody that went to this event on Wednesday that test positive that can trace it back to that? So like what a reckless move by Kansas and by Les Miles. And the thing I don't get too in the announcement they put out yesterday is they said, well, okay, as long as Les Miles shows no symptoms over the next 9 days, then he'll be able to coach our next game. But the guy said he had a cold, so I mean I think that's clearly a sign that there are some symptoms here. So I don't understand how they can think that they can kind of rush him right back onto the field here in 9 to 10 days.
Max, this is one of the, I would say, better weekends we've had so far in terms of like ranked matchups and as far as hyped matchups go. We've got a few top 25 contests, but A&M, they're hanging in there in the top 25, took it kind of like people expected from Bama. But what do you make of Jimbo's squad, and how do you see them potentially matching up with a Florida team that, my gosh, Kyle Trask is just lighting this offense on fire. It's amazing to see the parallels with he and De'Aaron King because of their background at Manville. But what do you think of Florida and A&M?
Yeah, I think that if you've been watching, I think there are a few teams that are playing with kind of more confidence right now than Florida, and that it goes beyond Trask and Pitts, but those guys have been spectacular. And I think that Florida's in really good shape and have to be feeling like they are on track to having a team that that can play with and beat Georgia and be a real contender in the SEC here. So this is a big one for Florida. When you talk about like a legacy game for Sam Ehlinger this week, I'm guessing it probably is a little bit for Kellen Mond too, because it certainly seems like these first couple of games for them have not engendered a ton of confidence from the fan base and in the quarterback situation at A&M. So fascinated to see kind of how he shows up in this game and whether A&M can be a lot more competitive this week than they were against Alabama, where they really kind of let that game get out of hand by halftime basically. So it's huge for A&M, and these are the kind of games that they have to find a way to start winning in order to build some momentum and some actual excitement about where that program's headed.
Max, thank you very much for coming on today. I know yesterday you got loaded up with a lot of things, as we did. Appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Philip.
Max Olson from theathletic.com, normally Thursdays, today Friday. When we come back, Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com.
No, we can go to the college schedule at another point. That's all right.
Yeah, Grayson Grundhafer, and then we got to get to Lee Sterling. And if you want to go over the main games in college football, because there's a handful that matter, this is Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store with a butcher shop and a bakery. 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. They have pre-cooked meals that are huge portions where the bakery is. Fresh baked kolaches every morning. And on top of that, whatever sweets and treats you want, they have them. Fresh baked bread. And if there are any kolaches left over, they will put them in a sealer bag and have them in the a cold refrigerator, kind of a refrigerator freezer type feel, where you could always just take a bag, warm them up as you want, whenever you want them. If you want tri-tip or brisket, sausage or chicken for your tailgate, hamburgers, they do that as well. And if you want to customize your order for whatever steak you like, whatever cut you want, they can do that as well. And you can customize an order for the tailgate, Baylor and Oklahoma State, for those who are, and hopefully that game will happen. You can do that and then pick up the box of whatever you ordered sometime later in the week. And then on top of that, up and down the middle of the aisles, there's regular what you see product in a grocery store. Boxed food, seasoning, salsa, pasta, snacks. And then if you walk in the door to the right, cold beer and wine. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. We're live at Mac People Stadium at Conley High School for a really good one tonight. Salado and Conley in 9-4A Division II. Grayson Grundhafer, nice enough to be pushed back from Sikkim365.com, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Grayson, let's start Baylor. We know the story that came out yesterday, waiting results for this morning. But this was a week when they were supposed to get more reps and whatever else. How much of a setback, in your opinion, has it been, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a setback anytime you have to, shut down a facility and you're not able to get the reps that you need, especially after coming off a loss. And I know we've talked about how this bye week was needed. Well, now it kind of just becomes not really a bye week unless something happens with the game next weekend. But yeah, it's definitely a step back. This team needed some cohesiveness. They needed some on-the-field reps. And so, I don't know how much they're going to be able to get of that. And the other problem is they're probably just going to have to do a lot of meetings and things through Zoom and things like that. But that's just not the same as being on the field and actually seeing different schemes and game prepping. So hopefully they're able to get out there starting next week and get ready to prep for Oklahoma State if that game does indeed happen.
Grayson, what was the biggest positive? We've talked enough about the negatives and all that from last week on the podcast, on this show, on the board. What was the biggest positive, if any, that you saw coming out of last weekend?
Yeah, you know what, Craig? It's definitely the defense. And I think everyone came into the year thinking that this defense was going to take a step back. And, maybe they weren't as dominant yardage-wise as maybe they were a season ago. But the turnovers they were able to force, the activity that the defense had, they gave Baylor every shot to win that game at West Virginia. They forced 3 turnovers inside the West Virginia 40 and still weren't able to win that game. I was extremely impressed with those guys. They play so hard, so fast. They're really, really fun to watch, and I don't see that group necessarily taking a huge step back, even with all the losses that they had coming into the year. So definitely the defensive side of the ball was very impressive, and I think it's a unit that's going to keep them in most games this season.
Is that a mental culture now that they've kind of built now that's just going to be their identity, no matter the coaching change?
Yeah, I think you obviously have to give a lot of credit to the previous staff instilling that culture and really developing those guys on the defensive side. A lot of those guys are guys that waited their turn. You look at JT Woods and Christian Morgan and Jalen Petrie, guys that have really turned the corner now in this season. And that is obviously a big credit to the previous staff, but it's also a big credit to the new staff being able to come in and set their standards for defense and set their scheme and install a defensive scheme that was still going to work, even if it was going away from what, Phil Snow had brought to Baylor. So they've changed it up, but they've kept that same physical culture. And yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think it's instilled in these players. And I give all the credit to both of the staff, the previous one and the new one, for how they've been able to keep these players engaged and keep the physicality and the energy level up. Very impressive.
Grayson, I know you develop relationships with a lot of these recruits, and I don't know why. For some reason, maybe it's because you had a good relationship with them, or maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know why, but I associate you in some ways with certain guys, and one of those is JT Woods, who's seemed to get off to a pretty good start. Just what are your thoughts on what you've seen from a player like him, and if there's anybody else that's maybe not as talked about, even if they were, talked about as a recruit, but maybe hasn't been talked about so much as a player? Is there anybody else that you would lump into that group with JT?
Yeah, so JT is obviously a really cool story. Just the fact that, he went to Steele, wasn't really thought of as, the greatest player in that 2017 class, kind of raw, a guy that needed time to develop. And I think you saw that in his first 2 years. He took his lumps, and he definitely was beat a few times, and then he also beat some guys a few times. But I think you saw in that West Virginia game one of the better games he's played all year, and in his career, really. And I think the biggest thing for him is consistency and physicality. And I think you're starting to see him turn that corner. Now, he's going to make mistakes still. He's still a young player as far as on the field reps, but you could definitely see glimpses of it in that game. I was really, really impressed. As far as other guys, Craig, honestly, I have a pretty good relationship with a lot of the players out there, especially the guys that I followed as far as covering their recruitment. But, I would say I've been really impressed with the development of RJ Sneed from last year to this year. He just looks like a totally different player. He just looks so confident now. And I think you saw glimpses of it last year, but you're seeing it even more now. And I'm just really, really impressed by him. He looks like the number one receiver for Baylor right now. And I do believe that if Tyquan Thornton can get himself going, I think that will only help RJ Sneed even more. So if they can get those two wide receivers going at the same time, I do think this offense can take a big step forward, which they do need to.
Now, you cover recruiting, and that's been vastly different, like a lot of things this year, but vastly different than what it would typically have been here over the last couple of months and since the start of the season. But you mentioned on Trust the Podcast, is some recruiting about to, kind of start ramping up a little bit more?
Man, I sure hope so. The staff hasn't put out any offers really. I guess they did put out one a week ago to Montrell Hatton out of Carthage, but that's a 2023 offer, so that's not for a while. But they haven't put out a 2021 or 2022 offer for what feels like months. I think it's only been a month, but it feels like it's been a really long time. But I do think that as players start to post, their 3-game highlights, that's what a lot of kids post these days. It's their first 3 games of the season. That allows coaches to look at those films a lot more. I do think you'll start to see Baylor put out more offers. But it's not just Baylor, honestly. There's a lot of programs that have kind of been at a standstill right now, trying to wait and see what film looks like. And obviously, I know the staff is different now at Baylor, but they still really want to see measurables and testing times, and that's so hard to get right now because you just don't know how verified that information is when it comes from a kid or a coach.
Grayson, thank you very much for your patience with us today. Thank you, buddy. Grayson Grunhafer with Craig's Trust the Podcast. He and Craig do that each week. It is an hour plus of just absolute knowledge, insight, opinions, and feedback. And then also with what he does on his own, writing for Sikkim365.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out Trust the Podcast. It dropped yesterday, but I also wanted to pass along, since this is a Baylor segment in a way, happy birthday to Mike Singletary.
Oh,
yes.
The great.
Celebrating, we don't really do birthdays and all that jazz except for on occasion, but Mike Singletary celebrating a birthday today.
I was surprised he was not a part of the top 100 players in pro football history, but you really
I like
think
this kind of
about
party.
it. Huh?
I like this kind of party.
He was a beast. But then, there's a lot of guys that don't make it, and it's because it's the top 100, and there's been hundreds of great players in league history. We're now joined by Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Lee, thanks for your patience. We start right off the top. You were 4-1 last week, and Iowa State coming off the win against Oklahoma, which you nailed, against Texas Tech.
So Texas Tech is just so up and down. They are really tough to predict. And Iowa State, not in this situation too often upset. But, there's some things, if you look at the numbers will tell you a story. Tech's passing attack averaging just 6 and 7 yards per pass attempt the last 2 games, where Iowa State, we know they have a much better running attack than Tech, but their passing attack 9 and 11 yards per pass attempt. Tech's defense, tackling is always optional, plus 30 points per game is allowed here, 11 of the last 12 games, and Alan Bowman's status is up in the air. And big game for Matt Campbell. If he wants to get his team to the next level and, possibly win a conference championship, you got to win games like this and take care of business. He is 4-0 straight up and against the spread versus Tech. I'm going to take Iowa State here, 42-26.
All right, Lee, Florida and A&M and College Station, and Kyle Trask is the dude.
He is. Here's a guy that backed up Derek King at Miami in high school, and Dan Mullen's just doing a great job with him. I mean, he might be this year's version of Joe Burrow, averaging almost 72% completion percentage. And then you look at the other side, you look at Kellen Mond and Jimbo. Certainly, it's not the same Jimbo Fisher that came into this program. Last 12 games since mid-2019, 4-8 against the spread. You watch Kellen Mond, just not watching his pass, just look at his body language. It's not good. Florida probably has 5 receivers that are better than anything A&M has, and they might have the best tight end in the country here. I'm going to ride Florida, lay the double digits, 35-24.
Lee, this is one of the bigger weekends we've had so far in college football, and that will include the number 1 team in the country, Clemson, 2 touchdown favorites against number 7 Miami.
So usually Miami does not get a lot of love in the polls. I mean, they win games and look impressive. They don't move up much. But maybe they're the next Notre Dame or Alabama, which seems to get a lot of love. And why do they say that? I mean, they weren't ranked to start the year. They beat UAB, nothing special. They beat Louisville. Obviously, Louisville hasn't played up to what people thought they could do. And then a bad Florida State team. Where are they? They're number 7 in the polls now. They are not the 7th best team, even though they're my favorite team. Derek King's doing a great job. He's changed the offense from averaging 367 yards a game last year. They were just boring. And now they're explosive at 499 yards per game here after 3 games. But they still have holes here on the offensive line. Offensive and defensive tackle, I don't know if they have any guys who would be maybe even in the 2 deep and for a team for someone like Ohio State or Alabama or Clemson. So they still have some inexperience at linebacker, and their cornerbacks are average here. I just think Clemson's been sleepwalking. I think someone poked the bear. Clemson, 45-21.
All right, so 2 teams that you could probably lay on a couch, and you may not be able to solve either one of them, Texas and OU.
Yeah, elimination game here. OU loses, they're done. Texas loses, it doesn't look good for them. Look at the numbers here. OU, last year, averaging 5.5 yards per carry. This year, just 3.5 yards per carry. That puts more pressure on a quarterback, a redshirt freshman like Spencer Rattler. In the last 3 years, OU had the better quarterback. They had guys winning Heismans at that position. They were extending plays. It was like watching 7-on-7 football. They were extending them, running the football, or they'd buy 3 or 4 seconds and throw down the field and hit on a 40, 50-yard touchdown. So this year, for the first time in 4 years, Sam Erlinger, he is the better quarterback. He'll be able to extend plays, unlike Spencer Rattler. And the Dog, 26-11 in the series, wrong team's favorite. Texas wins this game easy, 38-24.
All right, Lee, you just kicked me in the shins earlier talking about how bad Florida State is, and Craig in the shins just now about that one. He's an OU guy. But in the NFL this week, the Browns, who ran roughshod over the Cowboys on the ground last week, and the Colts, who have a really good defense, but some of those guys are out.
Yeah, that's a problem here for Indianapolis. If you look at the numbers, they're ranked number 1 in the NFL in defense. But let's look at the last 3 teams they played. They played Minnesota when they weren't clicking on offense. The Jets, who are horrific. Hope these aren't any of your favorite teams also. And the Bears, who until last night and right before halftime, they were horrible on offense. So they've been playing with the lead, and you look at Phillip Rivers, that's what he does best. He's got the lead. He'll hand it off. Look at that line he's got in front of him. Play action, everything looks great. But when they were behind once this year against Jacksonville, couldn't rally him. His problems with the Chargers, couldn't rally his team when they needed to come back and win games here. As long as Cleveland's Baker Mayfield doesn't throw 3 interceptions, or the defense just doesn't lose their mind and lose their cool and get 2 or 3, late hits and jump offside repeatedly on 3rd and short, I think this is Cleveland's game to take here. I'm calling for the upset. Cleveland, 27-20.
Lee, your game of the week, the Cowboys. What a struggle it has been, and despite that, it's been an even bigger struggle for the Giants. Cowboys favorites going into this game.
Yeah, they want to get this game. Big game. The team that gets 5 wins in this division could win the division. So, it is that bad. This is the worst division I've seen maybe in the history of football. So you want to get this game. It's that bad. But, hey, a winner's a winner. Just call 800-400-9741. We'll give you this game on me. Nice way if you want to start your weekend. And what a run we've been on. 4 out of 5 winning weeks to start the year. We have our first 45-unit play of the year. And going back 12 years, we're now 45, 16, and 1 on these plays, over 75%. You want to hop on board? ParamountSports.com, just $197 for 4 weeks. Use coupon code SAVE300. Works out to $50 a week. So ParamountSports.com or call 800-400-9741.
I want to pass this along from Garland Bear 84 on our text line. Got to give Lee credit for saying last week the wrong team was favored on OU at Iowa State. I thought that was bold at the time, but he wanted to make sure I passed that along to you because it was bold and it was good. It was right. Thanks for your time.
I appreciate it, and that's why I work hard to get those nice messages every once in a while.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, Lee Sterling with us, ParamountSports.com. Every Friday, we're running a little bit late because we jumped. We're able to get Jason Cook on about the Cleary Act.
Yeah, we're okay now.
Okay, we're good now.
We're about 5 minutes.
That if Texas beats OU like that, then Lincoln Riley, man, oh man, it's going to get ugly in Norman.
I think he's been obviously terrific.
Yeah, he's not in trouble of losing his job by any means.
But 0-3, and any time that it's 0-3, and that also includes a loss to Texas, And then Oklahoma looks at the teams in their conference like Iowa State and whoever else, and they're like, whoa.
Now, I will say, look at who they played as well. K-State, Iowa State, and then potentially Texas. And I'm not saying any of those teams are great, but they are still going to end up playing KU and Baylor. And, we don't know. We don't know. The Big 12 is such a mess. But I did want to mention from last night, how about those Chicago Bears? 4-1.
Are they really 4-1?
Yes, beat Brady and the Patriots. Brady
and
with
Nick Foles.
Brady didn't know what down it was.
Yeah,
Brady.
I was stunned. I was watching that kind of like in the distance.
Yeah, and they're 4-1, and their quarterbacks are Trubisky and Foles.
And Foles is doing this again, isn't he?
But see, the thing is, you watch Foles, and he will be, and it's the same with Trubisky. But they're both kind of the same guy with different skill sets in that they'll be awful for stretches where you're like, how is this guy an NFL quarterback still? But then they show you why they are, because the lights will come on and they'll have 2 great drives, and the Bears defense is really solid.
Yeah, you know who the Chicago Bears are? Kind of like what Baylor Bears were. They play great defense. Not great. They play good defense. They've got some dudes, right? Mm-hmm. And all you have to have is a bus driver, and Foles is the ultimate. I mean, that's what he was. Although with Philadelphia, he made plays. And, there was that drive that led to what was, I don't know if it was the game-winning field goal, but maybe another one. It was, where he hit there was an awful call, an absolutely brutal call against Tampa Bay on a roughing the quarterback call on Foles. It was 3rd and 19 from about his own 20, and it was just brutal. That's almost one of those that unless it's like helmet to face or whatever, or in the knees, or just incredibly late, that's a call. 3rd and 19, that's a bailout. And Chicago eventually took that, I think, and maybe, and I'm nothing against the Bears. I didn't care who wins that game. But you're right. Brady throws that pass. Gronkowski was kind of in the wrong body, like he was spinning a little bit. And then he throws the next one, and he did not realize it was 4th down. That's not a good look.
No, it wasn't. And it was, a rare moment where Tom Brady was not the dude on the field. And, I almost kind of feel like, well, for one, he's not under Belichick anymore. And I think we're starting to see that wasn't just Brady's greatness. And not many people thought it was just Brady's greatness. I mean, credit has been given to Bill Belichick, but I think maybe even more so is being given to Bill Belichick now when you see how Brady and is looking in another uniform.
But there were throws in that drive, and when he didn't realize it was 4th, there was a throw to the sideline that was underneath. There was a throw also where Mike Evans
he's getting old.
Was supposed to cut off a route. It's sad.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
some people are going to love it. Yeah,
I'm thinking that we're just coming to the realization. Anytime these quarterbacks go and they play for that team you forgot they played for after they played for the team that you knew them
like
for
Montana
like 12
with the
years.
Chiefs,
yeah, exactly.
He had a year or two that was pretty good. Yeah.
And it's different now with the way things are covered. So Brady's kind of one of the first examples I can think of in a long time of a guy of that stature being somewhere for so long and then going somewhere else where you're not familiar with him, and it's a new uniform and whatever, and it's Emmett and the Cardinals, or there's plenty of examples. Now there's a long way to go in the season. They're still 3-2. They'll be fine. That wasn't a division game. They lost by 8 points, and Brady made an awful mistake, obviously. But it's not that picture perfect. Just hey, we're gonna have the right coach, and then we're gonna get Gronk, and we're gonna get Brady, and we got all these receivers. They got a lot of talent, but still, there's more to it than just that.
Yep, I know.
So great win for the Bears.
All right, so high school football. Allen, Cedar Hill canceled. Cedar Hill will play Aledo not tonight, but next week.
Apparently, they're up to 46.
Fremont Mart canceled.
46 high school games that have now been canceled in the DFW area. Plano has now been canceled. I don't know who they were playing, but so we're approaching 50 canceled games in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Here's the thing. There's 1,300 teams.
Yeah, sure. I'm just saying there's close to 50 games being canceled.
We have Connolly tonight against Salado. Salado is 5-1. Their slot T offense has been a wrecking machine. Hammered 61 points, I think it was, against Stephenville. They're really good, and so is Connolly. Connolly just has to buckle up, tighten up. If you look at the records, Salado is a slight favorite in this game. We all kind of agree with that. But if you look at who Connolly has played compared to who Salado has played, and Alan Hare will join us about 5:25, they've played Grandview, who can play with all the 4As. 2-time state champion, but 3A Division I. Same thing with Troy. And Mejia.
So they both played good teams.
Taylor. Well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, Grandview
I would say Connolly's non-district schedule. The problem
but
is
not by a lot.
They don't put up a lot of points. They did last week against Robinson, who could not stop anything. It'll be about who gets the lead at a certain point, because if Salado does and gets the ball back as well, you may not get the ball back for 8 minutes. So that's tonight's 7 o'clock pregame, also on 106.7 The Eagle. When we come back, Paul Catalina, conversations with Temple's Scott Stewart. They got a really good matchup tonight at home against Martin. And then Riker against Covenant with head coach Tyler Holcomb. 5 o'clock, Haig Sherman on what they're going to do with two great Americans, Baylor alums and student athletes, the great Medal of Honor winners, Loomis and Kane. And how did he come about doing what he did to make this happen? And, oh, by the way, Sikkim 365's Brian Etheridge has a big hand in this as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. If you're a Jeep fan, Jeep Adventure Days been extended. Get employee pricing for all the 2020 Gladiator Sport, no payments for 90 days. The tougher the nails Jeep Renegade. 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days, or up to $6,250 in cash, and subprime offers. Get a great buy on the 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cab with a Hemi or Eco Diesel, 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days, or choose $9,250, $9,250 in cash and incentives. Highest pickup owner loyalty in America as the Ram Power Days continue. Also, no matter what part of the country you live in, remember Alan Samuels, your friend in the car business. They have numerous friendships and relationships with all the dealerships around the South. And if they don't have something, they'll find it for you. Shop online if you want. Alan Samuels, DCJ.com, or drop by their dealership. AJ's the guy that got me to buy a car after nearly 400,000 miles of my Tahoe. He is special, but everybody in that sales department is special. Ted Teague, Kevin, many others. They're great at Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solution for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive, AutomaticChefCanteen.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sikkim 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey guys, Scott Stewart here, head football coach of the Fighting Wildcats from Temple High School in Temple by God, Texas, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Temple Wildcats football coach Scott Stewart is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Another win for the Temple Wildcats on Friday night over Magnolia West, 28-13. Coach, your team once again availed itself very well. It looks like you've got a very strong defense once again. That's kind of been the mantra of Temple for a long time. And that's in today's high school football. It's kind of tough to build. But does that start with you guys kind of at the lower levels of buying in on defense?
Well, it absolutely does. And, I'm a head coach and an athletic director by profession, but I'm a defensive coordinator by trade. So, not that our offense doesn't do a phenomenal job, but, I've always had a special place in my heart for defense, and we've done a good job. Our middle school coaches take a lot of pride in it. I've actually put some guys off the high school staff that wanted to see their boys come up and coach their boys. And so we have a couple of those guys down there coaching at the middle schools, and they do a great job. And it's just a pride thing. I mean, you've got to start that early. In today's time, if you ain't catching touchdowns or scoring touchdowns and scoring points, you ain't getting any attention. And so there's just got to be that inherent pride that you take in trying to slow people down and hopefully stopping them at some point. But been very proud of those kids. I feel like we've got some experience coming back up front. It's a brand new secondary, so I've been really proud of those guys. And the mantra is don't give up the cheap ball. Just don't give up the big plays, which we gave up to the other night. But that's kind of been the emphasis, and I think the kids have kind of executed that plan pretty well.
Well, this week you've got Arlington Martin, who they've split overall. I mean, it's another one. You've got another one. Of course they played Denton Ryan the first week, and that's tough for anybody. And they played them at AT&T, and then they shut out College Park last week. So you're not like you didn't pick in this non-district schedule before you jump into your district. It's always hard. You didn't pick anybody that was going to roll over.
No, and I think there's a method to the madness on that kind of stuff. What do you really get out of going and beating people 56-3 and 3 weeks in a row and then getting to what is going to be a tough district? If you can stay healthy, now there's always a double-edged sword. We're playing some really, really good football teams. On some rankings, all three of them are getting close to the top 10 in their classification. So. I will say that with the different styles and just the level of talent and the level of coaching, I don't think there's anything that we're not going to have seen once we get to district. We're going to see 17,000 formations this week. Last week we saw the aired out concept, and then obviously Longview. they ground and pound and they tried to, will you into submission and just kind of beat you to death. And so if you can stay healthy, I think that's always been kind of my MO is let's play some good people early. Because again, if the ultimate goal is to play in December, well, I guess this year is January, then you might as well play those teams early and see what you got.
All right. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Hi, this is Tyler Holcomb, Athletic Director and Head Football Coach at Bishop Lewis Riker. And you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Riker Catholic Cougars football coach Tyler Holcomb is sponsored by Riker Athletic Booster Club, Boozer's Jewelers, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Well, Coach, Eli Cummings, did he work at the concession stand on Friday night as well? Because offense, defense, special teams, he pretty much had it covered.
Well, he might have served on the chain gang for a little while that night as well. and you hit the nail on the head, man. He came to play and put on a show. We knew he was an electric player. Well, he pretty much made a name for himself on Friday night against First Baptist Dallas.
So between he and Jake Boozer, I'm right, over 500 yards of total offense just with those two guys?
Yeah, that's right. We had, total offense, rushing-wise, we had right at about 300 yards rushing. And so we were really close to 500 yards total offense. But they played great, man. We just, the offensive line did a great job in executing the blocking schemes that we put in place in practice. And our coaches did a great job of preparing our kids, and they went out and executed and came out with a big win.
To come off a loss and then be, ready to go like you were, did you learn something about your kids this week that they can adapt, that they can grow from week to week?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of veteran players on this team. We just have some guys that are new to our system and how we do things. And so we knew that there were going to be some growing pains throughout this season. But to see us come back the following week after a tough loss and do the right things on the field and cut out the stupid penalties and go out and execute our game plan, it was really encouraging to see and fun to watch those guys play.
All right, this week you've got Covenant. What have you seen from them?
Football team. They play hard. They remind me a lot of Brentwood, maybe just with a little more talent. But they're a Division III school. We're a Division IV school, so they're probably going to have about 20 more boys on their team than what we have. So they're going to have the depth advantage. I think we have the speed advantage, and we're going to go out and play and let the chips fall where they may.
Looking for quality plants at great prices? Barrera's Nursery and Landscape Company at 201 Sun Valley Drive in Hewitt is the place for seasonal plants, shrubs, trees, and perennials, as well as bulk material of landscape rock. Barrera's Nursery and Landscape has been locally owned and operated for 22 years. Give us a call at 666-9806. That's 666-9806 for all your landscaping needs. Barrera's Nursery and Landscape Company. Open Monday through Saturday, 8 until 5:30 on Sun Valley Drive in Hewitt.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Employee pricing is back at Allen Samuels, exclusively on the king of minivans, the new 2020 Chrysler Pacifica. Get employee pricing plus financing as low as 0% or employee pricing and up to $4,250 in cash. You get Pacifica loaded up with style, comfort, and options all in one gorgeous minivan. Employee pricing with special financing or cash. Choices are always great at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
At
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Brewer over the middle. He's got a man in stride, and walking into the end zone is Josh Fleeks with the touchdown.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
If you know anything about the history of Baylor University, you have heard about alumni Jack Loomis and John Kane, believed to be the only pair of student athletes at any university in America to have been awarded as Medal of Honor recipients. They will have statues in their honor go up outside of McLean Stadium. This is something that one of our owners, Brian Etheridge, has been very passionate about. I know Brigadier General retired Tom Turlington has mentioned this before, but it costs money to do this, even if it's the right thing to do. And we're now joined by Haig Sherman, a BBA from Baylor, class of 1988, CEO and principal stockholder of Tectonic Financial Bank Holding Company, co-owner of Bigfoot Energy with his brother Robert, who lettered under Grant Taft in the early 1980s. And Haig is also director of 2 New York Stock Exchange-listed companies, authored book on economic foreign policy, grew up in Waco, a Richfield graduate, which is now Waco High. Haig, thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy as you could possibly be. When did Brian Etheridge approach you about this, and when did this become something that was a goal of yours as well? And thanks for your time today.
Well, I think like Brian, this has always been in the back of my mind, and it's been in the back of, many alumni, their mind as well, which is these 2 men served in a way that we can only imagine and
one of which gave his life, the other of which was led one of the deadliest missions in World War II aviation history. And Baylor is unique. My dad went to West Point, and West Point certainly had its share of Medal of Honor winners, but Baylor's unique in having two lettermen win Congressional Medal of Honor. And so it was always something in the back of my mind. I talked about it with Brian, and then developed a proposal and approached Baylor about this idea.
How long does it take to go from A to B to get statues commissioned and artists and all of that?
Well, I before approaching Baylor, I approached Dan Brook, who's also a letterman at Baylor, played for Taft with my brother. I saw his work. He did the Grant Taft statue and the entranceway to the footbridge to the stadium, and approached Dan about what is this process? How long would it take? And so Dan outlined it and was just thrilled about being considered for the commission. And so we started that process about 3 years ago. And Baylor has to go through its steps. So it took a little while to kind of go through the steps with Baylor, but start to finish it will be about 3 years.
So these are they have areas around the campus which their names are honored. This here, because you have, and that Grant Taft, that statue that was perfect. The one right outside of obviously Floyd Casey Stadium. How much now have they already started to be sculpted? Is this something that because of your donation that kicked in? Here we go. And how long does that take? Because I saw where they said Baylor would like to unveil these sometime in November.
Well, they're at the foundry now. So the longest part of the process is the actual creation of the statue. And so Dan has to make a clay statue of each one of these men. And so Loomis is in his fatigues, which he would have worn at Iwo Jima, with a rifle draped over his shoulder. And it's really kind of an iconic pose because it's like the David. And then you have Kane, who's dressed in his aviator uniform. So that takes a long time. The detail is amazing. Dan's done a fantastic job. And then you have to develop those, and that takes the longest time. And then you have to do a mold of them and then send that mold off to the foundry. And so right now, both of them are at the foundry where the bronze is being made, and then they'll be transported back to Waco for installation the last game of the season.
Are you going to be able to get out to, is it Cisco? Is that right? To go take a road trip to go kind of see what's going on?
I may hop over there, and to me, I think that Dan has been very passionate about this, and he's really he views this as the greatest commission of his life, just given what these men represent, and to me, that was the most important aspect of it, which is not just the heroics of these men, but the ideals, faith, courage, and also an inspiration, hopefully, to those that walk by and want an understanding of our history, but what service really means.
Hey, to have statues any place is for me personally, when I see one, it's going to trigger, well, who is this a statue of? Why is this here? And for the people who don't maybe know this story and should, this is going to be a great thing for them to learn about these two heroes that maybe they wouldn't have before. I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing.
Well, thanks. And to me personally, I mean, the resonance is both these men grew up in Central Texas. And so there's a connection there. Both these men walked on campus. So these were living people, lettermen at Baylor, but they were regular students, just like the kids walking the campus today. And so there's a part of me that I don't want that lost. I want kids to realize that even though these men were heroic and did things that have been immortalized, these men walked the campus just like they did.
Yep.
And so I think there's greatness in all of our students. There's faith in all of our students.
and there's this notion of service. And that's really the idea behind this, which is, faith and service. That's so important to Baylor University. It's so important to this country. And that's really what I wanted to convey in commissioning these statues, not just honoring these men for their heroics, but, faith and service and how important it is to Baylor University, how important it is to this country. And my hope is that people draw a little bit of that and it'll inspire them to, continue in that regard.
The announcement is relatively new, but what has been the response that you've received so far?
Well, it's been outstanding, and in my world, which is a bit removed from Baylor, I think that this is something that transcends views and ideologies and all that. This is something that really connects everyone. So I think that really is what's to me, the most special part of it is this is something everyone can share, whether it's a Longhorn walking onto our campus and to our football stadium and looking at the statues and understanding that that's a part of their history too. This is American history, and it's unique to Baylor, but it's American history, and and I think very inspiring.
Yeah, and for those that sometimes and most everyone listening understands the story, Jack Loomis and also John Kane, but he was a Baylor All-American, played with the New York Giants in an NFL championship game against the Chicago Bears. But he went on to serve, and he was at Iwo Jima, as you mentioned, and he was killed in Iwo Jima and suffered because he stepped in a landmine. I believe that was what happened to him. And in the letter to his mother, Loomis's commanding officer wrote, "Jack suffered very little, for he didn't live long. I saw Jack soon after he was hit with calmness, serenity, and complacency. Jack said, the New York Giants lost a good man." And we all, of course, lost a good man. And then the Medal of Honor citation that came a little bit later on as well. And that's such, you hear these stories like that. Here's a guy that served, continued to serve, and then in the middle of a time when he's about to take his last breath, he has that sense of humor, so to speak, to say what he said.
No, that's right. And that is so inspiring. And if you look at Kane on the other side in Europe, he was an Air Corps veteran. That was his life's work. And he flew 43 missions in Europe. And the one that he won his Medal of Honor on was 3 times more dangerous than D-Day, 3 times more dangerous as far as loss of life than even Iwo Jima. So you had a better chance of surviving at both those horrific battles than Ploesti, and he survived it. He led it, survived it, and that bombing raid was to knock out Hitler's oil refineries in Romania. And so it was it was an absolute suicide mission. They all knew it because they were flying 200 feet off the ground at times, and so it's really remarkable what these two men did. And Kane also figured in another part of tragic Baylor history, which was he was on the bus that where the immortal 10 perished, and he survived that. So he indeed is a lucky man, but he also served this country over the span of his life.
Hey, what does this mean to you, to be a part of this, to have a major impact in this getting done?
Well, it means a lot to me. Like I said, I think what these two men did has been immortalized. I mean, very few people won. 16 million served in World War II. 464 won a Congressional Medal of Honor. These two men did. But more importantly, it's the ideals that they stood for. It's the faith, the service, and that's really what I hope people draw from it, because we can all do our little part to make this world and this country a better place. And my hope is that people not only are awed by these men, but are inspired by them.
Hey, thank you very much, man. I tell you what, Brian just told me this. It's been recently. I think it was maybe at this time last week when he gave me an idea that this might happen. It was released, Baylor University, with Jack Loomis and John Kane, Medal of Honor, Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, both All-Americans, both student athletes, as you mentioned, at Baylor, and one of the great men that have ever been on the campus of Baylor University. Hey, Sherman, thank you for your time. Have a great weekend. I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hank Sherman with us, 1988 graduate, also got a law degree from Texas, CEO, principal stockholder of Tectonic Financial, a bank holding company, co-owner of Bigfoot Energy with his brother, who played under Grant Taft, director of 2 New York Stock Exchange-listed companies, authored a book on economic and foreign policy, married to Millet, and also 2 teenage daughters. A part of the family, grew up in Waco, went to Richfield, and donated a nice, large chunk. And I got to give, again, Brian Etheridge, who's in Orlando listening on the Sikkim 365 app, credit because this was part of his mission, dream, and now accomplishment as well.
Yeah, I'm a big World War II buff. I love World War II history, books, and just reading anything and everything I can, watching pretty much anything and everything I can, and to hear, individual stories, and then to have that Baylor connection, twisted into it as well is pretty cool. And I think it's fantastic that, all these decades later that these men are not forgotten. And, for him, you can say, like, hey, wouldn't it be great if Kane and Loomis had statues? And you could talk about it. You could talk about it like a cocktail party or at a game or whatever, but you need somebody to get the ball rolling. And so kudos to him for getting that ball rolling and making it happen, because otherwise it's just talk. And the talk is great, the attention is great, but, he stepped out there and made this happen, and I think that's just really awesome.
You want some good news with Oklahoma? Because I know it's been a tough Luther Burton III, 5-star wide receiver, just committed to Oklahoma. That just came down on the
I thought you were going to say
Texas
that Kennedy Brooks changed his mind.
No, yeah, that would be great. That would be the best thing they could have happen for them.
When that happened, and I said it when it happened,
yep,
that is going to hurt them. I didn't know how much, but boy, has it ever.
Yeah, their backs will be fine in time. They're young right now, but Kennedy Brooks is just another animal altogether as far as, what he'd already shown and what he was probably going to be capable of with another year under his belt, and a lot of attention in that offense because I would imagine he would get quite a bit. As you can see, they're trying to run the football. They just can't do it all that well, and it would have taken a lot of pressure off of Spencer Rattler at certain times, but oh well, Kennedy Brooks made his decision like a lot of other guys who declared, and it is what it is.
And we saw him in his infancy at Mansfield as he went off against Midway.
And Midway won that game, but he had a good game. And I know that Texas earlier this week, speaking of recruiting, had a 4-star wide receiver who is a teammate with a 5-star wide receiver that's committed to Texas. I do believe he's a 5. But the 4-star, whose name's escaping me at the moment, he decommitted. There's thoughts that he might head to Oklahoma, so maybe they have a big wide receiver class. I mean, they certainly need the weapons. The guys on campus right now,
their problem is not wide receiver.
No. But I'm just saying, like, there's no CD Lamb on campus right now.
There may not be many of him in the NFL.
I understand. I'm just saying, there's not that stud, that dude. I mean, look at CD Lamb last year in the OU Texas game. That was an all-timer performance.
He was as good in that game as anyone who's ever been good in that game.
Tom Herman probably sent him a graduation present.
When we come back, we have Salado and Conley tonight. Alan Hare, the head coach at Salado. They're 5-1. The one loss that they have was a loss to Grandview, the 3A Division I, 2-time defending champions, and it was a game 21-7. They have been methodical. I'm telling you, we know Shane Anderson and his staff at Conley. This has gotten all their full attention. There's 3 teams in 9-4A Division II: Conley, China Spring, and Salado. One of them will win it, with all due respect to Gatesville, Gerald, and also Robinson. You got to get one. If you get one now, then you have China Spring if you're Conley later on. If you're Salado, you've got tonight Conley, and next week you have China Spring at home. So, and China Spring obviously will roll tonight against Gatesville. Then they'll have Salado, and then in a couple of weeks after that against Conley at China Spring.
Conley just needs to play a clean game. Just limit the mistakes.
Doing that?
Yeah, I hope so. But they cannot. With a slot T team and a slot T team that can score fast, they can kind of do it both. They got big play potential. You do not want to get behind the 8 ball of a team that can just grind it
3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 3, 20. And then who knows? And they got a guy, Rook Brown, who's not even one of their starting running backs, that does everything, committed to UL Monroe, plays safety, running back, he plays everything you want him to, and also a part of the kicking game. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. And believe me, they do. They love it. They're very passionate about what they do. It's 400 East Bridge Street. Today, right now, you can go if you want to pick up some for the weekend. You can go carry out and curbside, noon to 9 on Friday and Saturday. And believe me, this is if you're a craft beer fan, they are crafting some excellent beer at Brotherwell Brewing. Whether it's the Hidden Herd, the Bridge Street Fit, they had the Fest beer, the Oktoberfest beer that's out right now for Oktoberfest. Fantastic stuff. And they have events all the time at Brotherwell. They'll have food trucks and different things going on. They had an Oktoberfest event last week, socially distanced and well thought out. Trust me on that. It was fantastic. They have great time. They're a fun bunch. They're at Brotherwell, and make sure you go and support local craft breweries. It's been a rough time in 2020 for local craft breweries all over the country, so support the ones that are here in Waco, like Brotherwell Brewing. Check out more information on brotherwell.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Parsons Roofing has been serving Central Texas since 1948, and we can handle your commercial roofing needs from repair to re-roofing. And no one handles more school than Parsons Roofing. Parsons Roofing has been named Contractor of the Year for 14 consecutive years. Parsons Roofing, a name Central Texans have trusted for over 70 years. It's not just a roof, it's our reputation. You can contact us today for a free roof evaluation, including hail claims at 877-881-1733 or on the web at parsonsroofing.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
Alan, you have now entrenched yourself. This is where you played. You were the quarterback. Your son's now the quarterback. But you and I have talked about this over the years. You have entrenched yourself, and the success is obvious. This team you have now has played a tremendous schedule. Is this perhaps, and you had a quarterfinal round team, perhaps right now playing as well as you have?
Well, that's a good question. I know they're preparing as well as we have. We got great kids and good group of seniors that care. We still got a stretch run here to make with some big-time opponents coming up. So, they want to be good. And so when you got a team that wants to be good, then it's your job as a coach to again, put them in the right spot to execute and work them as hard as you can, see what we can do. How long did it take for everyone to buy into what you were doing? Well, I think if you can remember in 2016, we started 0-2. The first game we dropped 7 snaps, and the second game we dropped 4, and we won our first game the week 3, and then they kind of saw a little evidence of it, and that opening district ball game in 2016 at Fairfield, we were able to win, and that kind of catapulted us into a situation where, Coach, we can compete, and so luckily, if you can follow in a program that maybe hadn't been as successful, and you bring something new to the table that they're willing to try it, probably wouldn't be a scenario where you'd roll into, Lake Travis and say, hey, all right, we're going to go double tight. Right. After you won, 5 consecutive states or whatever they've won, and so it's a mindset. You got to sell it first, get your kids to buy in. If they buy what you're selling, then you have a chance. How unique or surreal or whatever the word is that you played quarterback there. You were on the team. You graduated from Salado in '88, and now here's Hutton, and he's running this team, and you have him for a couple of years as your starting quarterback. I try to soak it in. It makes you kind of emotional because time flies as a coach. You don't get to be around the youth leagues as much and make some of the Saturdays, and I see pictures of him playing some of his youth football, and I miss some of those things. And now is when you get to make up that time. So what you do is you just enjoy it daily. And so I've been very privileged and honored to be able to be around my own kids. Of course, when I came back in 16, my middle son Hayden started as a junior in 2016, and then 17, and he was on the quarterfinal team, and then Hutton was on the JV as a freshman, and then we had some injuries, and so rolling into our second or third game of the season his freshman year, we moved some of our athletes around, and so since 18 he's been able to take the snaps, and so that's good and bad. I get to hear that we may not throw it around as much as we should, and that's tough because it's your own. But then when he's able to get it where it's supposed to be, because believe it or not, we do work on the passing game and we throw it daily, and he gets some reps, and so him being able to understand it's team first has been big to see. You always want your kids to think of others first, and he's been willing to do that. And I think if the team's successful, he could probably care less if it's the slot T or if it's the spread. Alan, how often do you play somebody and you've watched a team play 1 game or 4 games, or maybe even later in the year they've played 6, 8, 9, and even this year with crazy games, schedules being canceled or games being canceled, how often do you watch a team play defense and then you go to play them, and the night you show up, they're doing something completely different because of the offense that you run? And is that a great compliment? We'll take it as a compliment. I will say this, don't want to give up too many secrets, but if they're trying the defense of the week, we pretty much like it because we know they're doing something that they haven't been coached to do all season long. there's something to say for those coaches that play their defense and play it well and make you adjust, or are they trying to dial up something they're not used to doing and playing kids out of position? And so sometimes that's to our favor, and sometimes they dial it up and it works. But through experience, we're going to practice against every front because we never know what front we're going to get. So we will have seen it going into the game. But, yes, sir, a lot of times from 10-1 to, a 9-man box to, nobody deeper than 5 yards deep and one high, we've seen it. And so, therefore, you just want to take your path and try to execute and see if you can't get 3 yards and get back in the huddle, and we'll do it again.
You have played a very strong schedule. I mean, first of all, everyone knows how good Grandview has been, the back-to-back state titles, even though they're 3A. Obviously, you played Stephenville. You've played Troy, and they got that running back, Rabachik, and Mejia with Tristan. They're going to win there. Your thoughts about your schedule? Has this been one of the better testing non-district schedules that you've had to enter a district?
I think it's probably the toughest I've had as a head coach, and that's a tribute to our players playing well and being competitive enough that you're not just going to get normal people that want to play you, and so you're going to have to play better people. And so, with that being said, I think that makes us better. We knew that was going to be a test for us, and if we were 0-5 or 0-4 coming in, we knew that was a part of that would be our story, not an excuse. We're going to use it to help us. And I think it's made us better. Troy's phenomenal. You saw them with a big clutch win over Lorena last week.
Yep.
And the running back for over 300 again. And Lorena is not a joke. They've got a great program there, and that district is super tough. But we had our chances against Grandview, and that was a good story building for the season of things to overcome. We didn't execute down the stretch like we felt like we could, and of course all the other teams have been talented, and so I think it's probably been one of the better ones we put together. I'm not going to do that every year, I promise you.
The three teams that at least we or I consider the top three, you, China Spring, and Conley rolled, and I know the others might slip up and maybe make somebody pay if you don't pay attention. Did you notice that too, that the three teams that are the favorites, they all kind of flex their muscles? You've got Conley on Friday, and this ought to be almost like this is one of those that's going to make a difference in who you play in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's gonna make a difference in seeding for sure. Again, it's a contest, so we're going to show up and try our best. It's not the end of the season if you win it, and it's not the end of the season if you drop one. We just know it's against a talented opponent. But yeah, it'll definitely depict the direction you will go in the bracket for us the next 2 weeks, because we've got Conley and China back to back.
That's Salato's Alan Hare on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine is a hidden gem in Waco, and if you've not been there and you're a craft beer fan, you need to go there. Walk into that fridge and just look around and load up on all the different kinds that they have. You go on their website and you can look at the list, and it's like 25 lines on the website of different things. And, of course, some things are seasonal, but it's unbelievable what they have there. Plus, they've got the convenient drive-thru. You just drive on in there at Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. Tell them what you want. Boom, you got it. That's it. Done. Deal. That's it. You've got it paid, on your way to wherever you're going to go. Plus, if you need advice on something, if you want some kind of, different kind of wine or some kind of different spirit, whatever it is, they can point you in the right direction. They know their stuff at Riverbend Liquor and Wines. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Check out more on Facebook and Instagram.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership, online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And oh, there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour on the backside of the 5 o'clock hour. Opened up the show today with a little bit of an update on Baylor from the news yesterday and kind of a timeline that when they came back from West Virginia on Sunday, not one single football player tested positive, but there were a couple in the travel party, and that could be anybody. And, you know, again, from coaching staff to, you know, equipment, strength and conditioning, administration. So they did, and that happened. And that's part of, you know, again, the travel. And then by Wednesday, obviously, everything flared up. And then yesterday, Mack Rhoades said when Kenny Boyd walked in his office and he showed that paper, that's kind of like one of those, my goodness. It kind of reminded me of it. It's not the same. Ever seen Saving Private Ryan's my favorite movie along with Tombstone, when that secretary or some of the ladies that were typing letters to the parents, and she walked into the general's office to inform him that another Ryan, and the look on the general's face. Of course, this is COVID positive test, not dying in service, but it kind of reminded me of that, what Mack Rhoades said. They are waiting the test results from this morning, whether it gets better, worse, or about the same. remains to be seen.
And that's we were talking about World War II just a little while ago, and man, the true story that Saving Private Ryan's with the Sullivan boys, like, man alive, I can't even imagine what that must have been like for those poor family members to have to deal with just the whole family being wiped out, basically.
I think about World War II a lot lately, actually, because we're in a crisis in America right now, obviously, with the pandemic, and our grandparents. They were asked to do unbelievable things for a long time. Mm-hmm. And we've been asked to do like a couple little minor things, and we cannot, as a people, wrap our head around it.
Oh, no.
And I can't understand why that we don't just think about, man, my grandparents couldn't eat meat 3 days a week because they had to make sure that all their tin cans went to a certain place so they could make helmets and things for the soldiers. And we're like, I don't want to wear a mask when I go into Target.
Yeah, and
it's just
basically the bare essentials got powdered milk.
Yeah,
maybe a little sugar, but like nobody was swinging through Chick-fil-A. Like nobody had like cold beer available at any turn, but. It's a big difference, that's for sure. A couple of headlines. The Mavericks announced this just a little while ago. Kristaps Porzingis, injury news. He's had knee surgery today to repair a lateral meniscus tear in the right knee that was bothering him during the playoff run that limited him. He'll begin rehab immediately. No timetable for him to be cleared to return to basketball activities. So there's at least an update on Porzingis, and that's just going to be one of those things that surrounds him until it doesn't surround him, and that's a pretty crucial piece for this basketball team. So hopefully this is the last surgery that he will need for a while. Also, Hall of Famer, Yankees legend Whitey Ford, the Yankees all-time wins leader, died today at age 91. As you mentioned earlier, he was running buddies with good old Mickey Mantle, and of course the Yankees are in a fight with the Rays right now. So baseball, Astros.
Did the Yankees not close that out last night?
No, the Yankees were behind. They evened it up. It's 2 games to 2. By the way,
winner gets the Astros.
So Mickey Herskowitz, Smokey, you know Mickey Herskowitz, legendary journalist and biographer. I interviewed him a long time ago. I probably need to. It might not even be a bad guy to reach out to and see what he's doing nowadays. He did biographies on Mantle and. Howard Cosell and John Conley, just so many. But he told me some great Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford stories. I can't remember any of those, but I do remember this one about Mickey Mantle that he told that I'd love to tell. Mickey Mantle was a really, as you know, competitive dude. And so they were doing a book signing for one of the books he co-authored with Mickey Mantle. And they're at a Barnes & Noble's in New York City. And Mantle at this point in his life is not, he's sick and he's in pain all the time. His knees are just killing him, his hips. Just everything was broken on Mickey Mantle. And so he's kind of surly and he's doing his best to smile for all the people coming to write his book. And so he got up to take a break and have a glass of water and stretch his legs a little bit. And the manager of the Barnes & Nobles comes up to him and says, Mr. Mantle, I was wondering, we still have quite a few people out, that have bought books and want an autograph. If you could sign for just maybe like an hour or so longer. And Mantle just dog cussed the guy up and down and up and down and up and down. Just, this little dainty book manager in New York City. And he said, look, Mr. Mantle, I'm sorry. I had to ask. You're the second most popular book signing that we've ever had at this location, and I just wanted to, maximize it for us. I'd be foolish not to ask. He goes, what do you mean second best? He goes, yeah, Howard Stern was here 6 months ago. When his book came out, and he goes, well, how many did Howard Stern have? And he said we had, whatever number it is. He goes, how close were we to that? And he goes, well, right now, if we had 408 more people, we would beat it. He goes, send the next 409 through the door and let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah, there you go.
Would that have been like Miss America, probably, the book? But,
yeah,
that's hilarious. Howard Stern and Mickey Mantle. A couple of other things. Tonight, we were just talking about baseball a second ago. Yankees and Rays. It is tied up 2-2. Game 5 starts at 6:10 on TBS. Of course, on the National League side of things, the Braves and the Dodgers both swept their respective series, so it's going to be Braves-Dodgers in the NLCS, which should be a great series, and then Astros versus either Tampa Bay or New York. We'll find that out later on tonight. And then I would suspect, although you never know, this could go another game, but NBA Finals could be closed out tonight. Heat at the Lakers at 8 o'clock on ABC.
All right, so there's that, and those, the Whitey Ford thing. He won 10 World Series games, almost unmatched.
Yeah.
In history, he was his career record was like 236 and 100.
Yeah,
like some silly.
Well, and Yogi Berra has a lot of great stories about him in his books as well. If you want to read about a guy with a wild, fun life, Whitey Ford was certainly one of them.
Michael Irvin on the NFL Network. Did you hear this quote? Cowboys are out there playing like Oprah Winfrey defense. You get 40 points, you get 40 points, you get 40 points. It's absolutely sickening. People are trying to say, I don't think it's a manhood thing. Yes, it is. It's about your manhood. And I know, Craig, you mentioned this on a chat with us on Twitter, on a text last night. Sometimes he can overwhelm you a little bit so much.
Mm-hmm. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. Look, Orlando Scandrick and I did our podcast, the Believe in the Cowboys podcast this morning. It's up, wherever you get podcasts. Just look at my Twitter link. And he's because he knows a lot of the guys on the team. I mean, he's a little more, laid back and mellow about it. Of course, if you wouldn't compare personalities of Orlando and Michael Irvin, that's two
total opposites.
Horses of a different color. But he even said, like, look, they got to play with some pride. They got to do that. They're not doing anything. And he came right and said it. Look, Mike Nolan is a bad hire. It's not working. You can tell it's not working. You got all these veterans stressed out. Mike McCarthy's he's running into what could be a culture problem already in his tenure with the Cowboys because he didn't get to have that time where you build that in the offseason. And so he might have to start from scratch next offseason with this team.
Well, and their draft will now be very interesting. I mean, clearly they don't need receivers. They've got some holes, but I mean, where do you start? You got to address the offensive line again.
Yeah.
You got to address basically your entire defense again. So that's going to be really fascinating to see. And this result this weekend is going to be super fascinating, right up there with OU and Texas. Because if the Cowboys don't win this game against Jason Garrett and the Giants, then oh my gosh, the sky will definitely be falling.
If Dallas and Texas both lose this weekend,
be a bad day for the state of Texas.
So, the Cowboys last year,
people stunned.
What was wrong with the Cowboys defense last year? Mostly that they didn't create turnovers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guarantee you, everybody in the world would take no interceptions and no fumbles over this crap.
No, because if you can't stop the run, you are demoralized.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, a couple more things.
And then we got Dave Aranda on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, we do have to get to that. Tyron Smith out for the year. Lyle Collins pretty much out for the year. The Cowboys have like $25 million with Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, and Travis Frederick in dead money because they got like 2 games out of them completely. Chilton, Hubbard postponed until November 6th. That Cedar Hill Lido game, they're trying to work it out for next week. That might be official. Allen Cedar Hill canceled tonight, so 3 of our pick'em are out. La Vega looking for a game for next week. Not sure if Don Heights finished that out. Brownwood is going to have to forfeit 2 games in District 5 4A Division 1. Losses to Heritage and La Vega by the max of 15 points. Clifton Harmony canceled. Oh, and Denton Ryan's going to forfeit 2 district games. They let like a 55-game district winning streak. They have the forfeit 2 games in their district. And I don't know what exactly that was about. That looked like it might have been more like an eligibility issue than anything else. Also, Billy Meyer from the Texas Motorplex will be one of our guests on Monday as they crank up what they do. I've done shows from there. That's a fun event to be at. So that's there as well. When we come back, right, Paul?
No, just go to it right now. We're done with the break.
On Wednesday's media session, and Craig was a part of it, many things about Baylor and what they were going to do. And this is before all hell broke loose with the COVID and the positive test and shutting down the football or suspending the football-related activities for now. So at the end, Kellen Coleman is moderating. We all got a chance to ask, I think, most of the questions. We could have asked a couple more, but there was a New York Post writer who probably normally would have perhaps either done this by phone with Dave Aranda or whoever it is and or come into town. Mm-hmm. And like Bruce Feldman would do or whoever. So he asked a question about Trevor Lawrence. And this is not something we included on Wednesday, but I love this. Listen to Aranda. They shut down or they contained Trevor Lawrence last year, right? Here is Dave Aranda.
Talking football.
Talking football lingo, just gushing with football.
I think looking, Trevor's got the full full package there of intelligence, athletic ability, arm. You know, there'd be countless times you see him on one hash, throw it to the other numbers, and it's on a line and all of it. You know, I think on top of that, a lot of credit to the staff there at Clemson, because I think, you know, they are a team offensively that does a great job in identifying defenses and they get into the not only the what, but the why and the how, and their plays deconstruct the why and the how. And so it's not a, hey, we're running this because that's what we do. It's this is a beater to how you're set up and how you run what you do. And so I think that, along with their ability to have just really long, tall, skilled guys on the perimeter, you know, it makes it an issue for anyone really. You know, I didn't even mention the running back, and so Travis Etienne is something else as well. But I think for us, you know, in recognizing that and seeing all of it, there wasn't a lot of press in their league, and so I think there's such a difference between I feel, just off of watching that tape, the season of their guys compared to the other guys that they play, you know, and so there wasn't a bunch of people like up in the face and pressed. And, you know, the one game was the Ohio State game, and I thought they had the Clemson receivers struggled to get off a press. And, you know, they ended up going to quarterback run, if you remember, in that second half, and that's what kind of broke it open. And then, you know, you go back previous to the different quarterbacks that Clemson's had, that's, you know, underneath or behind all of the routes and the receivers and the runs to the running back, right? Layered underneath there is quarterback run, and they've had that there for quite a bit. And so I think that's kind of like home base is just don't look like that, you know? And so we went in thinking that we're going to press them and try to get those receivers, which were real long and just hadn't seen press for really all of the year, with the exception of the previous game. And then we were going to try to show different looks to the Q. I think the shadow of being really smart with plays designed to attack certain looks is that those plays are designed to attack that particular look. And so if you can make something look like something and then flip it, then you have a chance of that quarterback holding the ball and being, thinking it's this when it's that. And I think, you know, that combined with the press coverage, you saw some balls thrown, wide left, wide right. And I thought he was just a little bit off tempo or off of his normal rhythm. You know, we were trying to bring Grant Delpit and Jacoby Stevens and Patrick Queen, a couple guys, different areas, in his face to try to keep him uncomfortable. I think Kalen Chason had one of his better games, kind of rushing off the edge, and just it's one of those things to where it was never I don't know if there was a hit that kind of clearly defined anything, but we were always just kind of right there. And so we just kind of tried to keep it right there for as long as we could and see if something broke either way. But, I imagine just knowing that staff and, and getting to know Trevor just by watching the film, that he's all the more better for what happened. So I expect, he's taken that next step.
And just follow up on that, is there any, how do you've been around for a while. I mean, do you remember a quarterback you faced, that kind of a quarterback prospect in college?
It's a good question. Not, for as fast as he is, and then with the arm that he has. He kind of probably caught me there. I think, his stage, his next next area to develop, which I was kind of alluding to there at the end, is just when picture changes or when there is tight coverage, getting the ball there. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the stage. And so you look at like a Joe Burrow. That's where Joe was at that stage, you know. And so you're looking at a guy like Trevor, where Trevor brings all of those, just the height, the arm strength, the speed, right? The leadership abilities, all of those things are there. I can't really think of someone, you know, like Hawaii, we played Colin Kaepernick, and I think Trevor is probably a better thrower than Colin, but he reminds me of Colin somewhat just in terms of the running ability and the arm strength, you know. And Trevor's better thrower, better passer, but yeah, he's special.
And you just hear him. Like, he could sit there and spend hours in front of a board, projection screen, iPad, Zoom meeting, team meeting, on the field. He just you could tell he eats and breathes.
That's why I'm not worried. Like, a lot of people, you know, obviously had very extreme reactions to last weekend. I agree that there's, you know, some cause for concern as far as just the team and what they're perhaps capable of doing this season. And first of all, they just need to know that they're going to be playing games officially every weekend. But in the long term, I still have optimism about this season. I think the Big 12 is a crapshoot entirely, and there's not just some dominant team that they're incapable of beating. I think the only team you would, out of all the teams, just throw Kansas out, but everybody else could win a game here and there. So, you know, season's got a long way to go, but as far as the big picture, I got a lot of confidence in Dave Aranda and his staff.
Well, I mean, look at the recruiting they've already been able to do. You know, that should tell you about where the future of the program is headed. And the president of the program is, to me, I haven't changed my mind about it. And I'm not judging unless you are bad, like just really bad and regress. Like, you can't judge anybody on how good or bad their teams are playing in this ridiculous, unscheduled mess. It's just. Football coaches and players are all about routine. I've never heard a coach say, like, listen, we got better when we stopped, we just started making it up as we went along. I mean, it's all about routine and all that, and they have not had any of that. And that's why, you know, it's such a bummer for Baylor this week. I think that, you know, I wrote the column about it. You know, we've talked about it. The bye week was necessary. They needed to play together, and the reason they hadn't played together is just because of COVID, really. Mm-hmm. And so now they can't do that again because of COVID. And it's not going anywhere, and, you know, this is something they're going to have to keep dealing with. So however this season winds up, I mean, it's in no way an indictment on Dave Aranda and his staff at all. I mean, like, again, if they win more than they lose, then shoot.
If they finish like 5-4, I would actually count that as a great season, you know, just because of everything that's been in play. And I know, you know, everybody would love to be 2-0 right now and would love 9-0 or whatever. But I have no qualms about where the program is headed. I think it's picking up on the trajectory that Matt Rule left, and we'll just continue to grow. But this year is a very hard year to judge really too much of anything, quite frankly.
Yeah, it is. We will have Connolly and Salado in a little over an hour, 7 o'clock pregame. Paul's player profile with Kobe Wilson, back up to the backup running back, is worth listening to early on by itself. Thanks to Edwin Simmons. Some of you kind of took a couple of shots at him because I had scheduled him on the show because of things he dealt with off the field. I thought Edwin Simmons showed an amazing amount of character and also transparency because I know some of you were taking jabs at him. He handled that like a pro. Thanks to Grayson Grunhafer, Max Olson, Lee Sterling, Scott Stewart, Tyler Holcomb, Haig, Sherman, Jason Cook of Baylor on the Cleary Act decision and fine, and Alan Hare from Salado, as well as Dave Aranda on Trevor Lawrence. All right, so we will be back at 7, pregame Connolly and Salado. Thank you for listening whenever you do, for however long it might be. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, Brian Etheridge listening in Orlando, Ashley, Colt, Grayson, Jason King gave us some love on Outkick the Coverage again.
Oh, really?
On our story about Baylor and the flare-up yesterday.
Shout out to Deontay.
JT, Deontay, good luck to you, my man. And also Ryan Davis will be here soon. I'm David Smoke. For everyone I've mentioned, thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be. And good night for at least an hour from Mac People Stadium, Conley High School, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone